hockey. You know, we play a physical brand of hockey for Division III, and I think at the Division I level, maybe that physicalness is not quite as apparent because of the skating intensity and the skill level of the players involved. You know, I think that we have a like philosophy as far as the game is concerned, and I know that over the numerous conversations that we've had over the years that I've known both Rick and Walt, I mean, I think many of the things that we share are very much in common.
You know, being as how this seemed to have been in the works for the last 6-8 months, I imagine you've been keeping a close eye on what Northern Michigan's been doing this year, and maybe just some of your thoughts on Northern Michigan's hockey team this season.
Well, I think everybody has to be excited about the progress of the team. I know that going into the season, I don't think that anybody maybe was as optimistic as the season has turned out to be, and it has been a very exciting one. And I watched them play. Actually, the only 2 times I'd seen the team play was in Minnesota when they played the Gophers. And I thought both of the games there were extremely exciting. It was a tremendous tempo, very well played, very disciplined. And I think the caliber of the player is better than I thought maybe it was going to be. I know a number of the players who are here. Not only do I know the ones who are from Penticton or from our area, but I also know many of the kids who are from Saskatchewan and Manitoba. So I knew a lot of them, and I was really pleased to see their improved level of play, because over the course of the years that I'd known them through youth hockey and then, of course, in junior hockey, some of them I thought maybe weren't as good as they actually have turned out to be. So I think they've done a great job here in putting together a very quality program, and I think this year's team is very symbolic of the efforts that have gone into both from recruiting and a coaching standpoint.
Rick Kozabak, the new Northern Michigan assistant hockey coach, has been our guest. Rick, best of luck to you. We're looking forward to working with you in the years to come. First period hockey action, Minnesota-Duluth and Northern Michigan coming up next on Channel 8.
WCHA first round playoff action on Channel 8 is brought to you by Avant Gardens Floral, your FTD florist for flowers and plants. 1621 Presque Isle, Marquette. EQ Muffler Shop, serving Marquette County in a family-owned related business for 52 years. 250 East Hampton. Ask about our delivery service at Mr. Donut, open 24 hours, 1301 South Front Street, Marquette. For cozy fireside dining, try the Portside Inn, voted NMU's best pizza, 239 West Washington Street, Marquette.
Just about set to go in this one. There will be a new goaltender tonight, as we mentioned, Tom. The freshman, Chad Erickson, will replace John Hyduk, who had a tough time in the nets last night.
Erickson in goal tonight from Warroad, Minnesota, which is former Red Wing Henry Boucher's hometown up in the Minnesota State. And Erickson, according to the Minnesota broadcasters, Ron, has played perhaps the steadiest goal for Duluth over the last month of the season.
Not bad stats. When he was playing this year, he appeared in 12 games. Bill Pye will start again for the Wildcats, and he was simply outstanding last night in certain spots, Tom. He saved 2-3 sure goals, a couple in the first period on Wayne Sager, after Sager had already gotten Duluth on the board, that maybe saved Northern Michigan from maybe going to into a tie game at the first intermission.
Well, Pye played well last night, Ron. Rick Comley told me after the hockey game that he thought the defense played probably their worst game of the season against this Duluth hockey team. He says that Northern Michigan is yet to play a good game against Duluth. But he also said that, you know, he doesn't like to have Bill Pye handle the puck that much and have to handle it that much as he did last night.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if the Wildcats play a lot better defense tonight.
Well, Ron, if they don't play better defense, we might be here tomorrow night.
Our national anthem. There you see the officials for the game 2 are the same as they were for game 1. Buzz Christensen, the referee, Jay Borman, Casey Shermack, the linesman. The crowd in game 1, as you take a look at the Northern starting goaltender, Bill Pye, great record this season, great goals against, great saves percentage. What else can you say about Billy Pye? But the crowd, Tom, really into the game last night before the game got going, and there's the replacement for Hajduk, Chad Erickson, in his numbers, but they gave him a standing ovation before the game started, stayed on their feet until almost the game began, and of course Eric Lamarck helped things along, scoring a natural hat trick in the first 6:22 of the game to get the Wildcats off and running. And you know, I guess it's easy maybe sometimes when you get off to a lead like that to relax a little bit on defense, and again, it remains to be seen whether the Wildcats will pick it up tonight.
Well, you know, the crowd last night, Ron, was a lot more vocal when the team came out on the ice than they were tonight. And, you know, it remains to be seen how the hockey teams come out tonight. Minnesota-Duluth still has nothing to lose. You know, they can go all out. Northern Michigan would like to wrap it up tonight and not have to play game 3 tomorrow night.
I don't think there's anybody here that wants to come back for a game 3. Mike Sertich, the Bulldog coach, behind the Duluth bench. He'll call the shots as he has for 7 years at Duluth. Bill Pye getting set to go, as are the rest of the Wildcats. Now the crowd getting on its feet again. Not quite as many people as I expected to see, but I thought they were waiting for the game clincher, Tom, game 2, and it remains to be seen whether they'll get any more than they did last night. But so far, there's a lot of empty spaces in here.
Well, from what I was told, they expected about the same type of crowd they had last night. 3,200 in the building last night with about 200 no-shows.
Game just about set to get underway as Phil Brown gets into the center circle against Chris Lindberg. And here with the play-by-play of the first period is Tom McCord.
Thanks, Ron. The line of Phil Brown, Lamarck, or make that Garrow, and Kevin Scott for Northern Michigan. Duluth controls the face-off. Puck poked away right at the blue line by Pete Podrasky. On the backhand, Baskey sends it back into the Northern Michigan zone. Comes back outside the zone. Delayed offside is waved off, and Northern Michigan clears it down into the Duluth end. Erickson leaves it in behind the goal. Phil Brown dumps it right through the crease and almost off the skate of Baskey. And play whistled down as the net is off the magnets, in a dangerous situation right off the start for Chad Erickson.
Well, Phil Brown, as he does all year, just hustled right down and managed to feed that puck out front. It didn't quite get through, and they eventually worked it back to the line. Podrasky was lining up for a shot when they blew that whistle.
Antos out to take the face-off for Northern Michigan. Facing Chris Lindberg, sophomore from Fort Francis, Ontario, for the Bulldogs. Puck loose in behind the Duluth cage into the far side corner. Plandowski throws it back in behind the goal. First person there is Doug Terrell. Terrell sends it up the near side boards out into center ice. Lindberg right at the red line. On the backhand, throws it down into the Northern Michigan zone. First person back is Brad Wawrinka, circling in behind his own goal. Wawrinka right side pass for Eric Lamarck. Lamarck lobs it down into the MD end. Antos, first person there, is centering pass on the backhand, and knocked down is Daryl Plandowski. The net once again is off its magnets as Lamarck tumbled into Chad Erickson.
Dennis Baskey doing the job defensively for Minnesota-Duluth as he was all over the Wildcat out in the slot, just draped himself over him, pushed him off the puck, and kept the shot from being taken. Other playoff series going on this weekend. Wisconsin at home against Michigan Tech. They lead their series 1-0. Minnesota had a tough time against Colorado College, perhaps surprisingly, beating them 5-4. They play game 2 tonight. Game 1 this afternoon. North Dakota 7, Denver 1.
That's kind of a surprise. I expected a closer match between Denver and North Dakota.
I guess I did too, but was not to be.
Podrasky cross ice for Dave Porter, up into center ice for Jacobson, bounces over his stick. Jago clears it back. Circling back in his own zone for Duluth is number 27, Scott Keller, off to Jago, taken away by Berger. Berger in over the line, wrist shot and glove save, and that was going wide, but Erickson grabbed it off anyway. We played about 1 minute and 21 seconds of the opening period. No score in the hockey game.
Wildcats got off to that quick lead last night, and obviously Minnesota-Duluth does not want that same scenario to unfold in this game. And again, the freshman goaltender you see there, Chad Erickson, 5-6-1 his record, 3.47 goals against average, 894 saves percentage, not bad numbers for a freshman.
In that respect, Ron, I think we'll see a lot of Minnesota-Duluth and Erickson trying to slow down the play by freezing the puck and creating the face-off in their own zone.
I think you're right. I think the Wildcats would like to test Erickson as much as they can here in this first period.
Jacobson for Northern Michigan. From the face-off, puck control by Duluth. This is Darren Noss. Throws it up into the center ice zone, back in over the line offside, as still trapped in the zone was Dave Porter. Final weekend round of the CCHA regular season, and last night kind of a surprise down in East Lansing as Lake Superior State took it to Michigan State by a final score of 6-3.
Yeah, wrapped up second place in so doing. Of course, the Spartans had wrapped up first place quite a while ago. They had a big lead in the CCHA this year, and perhaps Lake Superior with a little bit more to play for in that game.
Ward clears it back into the Duluth zone. Pass errantly coming back out into center ice. This is Ward again at the red line. Throws it back into his own zone to John Good. Off to Dallas Drake. Drake avoids a check but can't control the puck. Gets an elbow up in the center ice zone. Thrown back in. Galicki clears it back out. Clearing back into the Northern Michigan zone is Pat Jan Austin. John Good throws it back in behind his own goal for Brad Wawrinka. Wawrinka takes a look. The Wildcats will try and set it up. Wawrinka shoves it up the near side boards. Galicki brings it out into center ice. Off to Dallas Drake. Drake coming in over the line. Drop pass Galicki. Galicki a centering pass, and that got between Drake and the forward back checking, or make that the defenseman Andrusak, into the far side corner. Galicki a centering pass, and that missed a cutting Sukharov and comes all the way back into the Northern Michigan zone.
Sukharov being checked as he tried to move for that pass by Kevin Kaiser.
Drake throws it back into the MD end again. Garrow bumps his man off the puck, that being Vasky. Held in inside the blue line by Kevin Scott. Winds up for a shot, and that's sticked into the corner by Erickson. In behind the Duluth goal. Centering attempt out back towards the blue line. Sukharov pinches into hold. Good play by Sukharov as it goes back in behind the Duluth goal. Vasky with it there, turning away from Dallas will make that Kevin Scott. Scott after the puck in the near side corner. Brown bumps his man. Plays still loose deep in the Duluth zone. Held in by Neuer at the blue line. Wildcat forechecking well. Scott shot, score!
1-0. Time of the goal will be at 3:07, and the Wildcats are on the board first. And Tom, if we can go back far enough on that replay, I really thought the gamble by Phil Sukharov, he kind of hesitated, didn't know whether to go for the puck or not to keep it in, and he did, and that kept the play in the Duluth zone, and they subsequently scored the goal.
Well, a good hold at the blue line by Sukharov pinching in. Another good hold by the freshman Phil Neuer, and Neuer may well get his first college point out of this goal by Kevin Scott.
Wildcats in the lead, 1-0.
Duluth controls the face-off once again, cleared into the Northern Michigan zone. Olsen clears it around for Plandowski. Long pass up into the center ice zone. Podrasky back at his own blue line. Off to Eric Lamarck, up for Rantos. Back into the center ice zone for Lamarck. Two Duluth players collide. Plandowski turns. Lead pass for Olsen, a little bit too far, and Jago throws it back out into center ice to Lindbergh. Lindbergh pulls up, throws it forward off the stick of Sandy Smith. Two Wildcats crunched over around the penalty box area. Lindbergh comes back for Duluth and over the line. Drop pass Jago. Cutting for the goal, and a little bit behind Terrell that time. The pass back to the blue line. Jago a drive, chest high on Pye, and he grabs it off.
Jago let it go. Cruising right out in front, screening him was Doug Terrell, and Billy Pye had already seen Terrell slide by him when he managed to grab that shot and hold on. His tempers flare just a wee bit here in the early going. Kevin Scott with the goal for the Wildcats, the first one of the hockey game. And for Kevin Scott, that was goal number 8 on the season. Doug Garrow and Phil Neuer picking up the assist. 3:07 the time of the score, and the Wildcats, like they did last night, getting out to the lead.
Minor penalties coming on the play to number 21, Doug Terrell, and to number 66, Darrell Olsen. Those should be roughing minors coming at the 3:54 mark here in the opening period. four aside in front of their respective goaltenders. Back on the blue line, winding up for a shot is Noss, and that missed everything. Play held along the near side boards by Chumala. Taking it away, though, the Wildcats, and this is Troy Jacobson. Center ice pass, Warenka. Warenka with a burst of speed, in over the line to Berger, winding up for a shot, he scores! Berger!
Well, the Wildcats jump out in front 2-0 as Phil Berger just wound up and drilled it from the face-off circle to the right of Chad Erickson at 4:19. And that gives the Wildcats a 2-goal lead. Brad Warenka will get one of the assists. He had 2 goals. Warenka did last night in game 1.
Tell you what, Ron, Berger likes the snap shot, but he winds up and whips this one, and he's got a good slap shot.
It'll be Jacobson on the other assist, as he's the one that gave the puck off to Brad Warenka. For Phil Berger, that goal is his 23rd of the season.
Bulldogs win the face-off. Puck cleared up into the center ice zone. Sandy Smith just chips it down into the northern Michigan end. This is Brad Warenka pulling up in behind his own goal. Warenka starts off again for northern Michigan. Both teams still playing 4-on-4 hockey. Lindbergh intercepts. He's offside at the northern Michigan blue line. And the face-off will come back out into the center ice neutral zone.
That second goal by the Wildcats, scored by Phil Berger, is 23rd. Brad Warenka and Troy Jacobson assisting. 4:19 came with both teams playing at 4 skaters a side, as Terrell and Olsen still in the penalty box for another minute 13. There's see Dallas Drake heading for the bench.
Antos, John Good, and Eric Lamarck for northern Michigan. Lamarck with his first collegiate hat trick last night, and it was the best way to get it, a natural one. One each way. He had one at even strength, one at on the power play, and one shorthanded.
That's got to be rare.
Antos, his shot gets deflected up over the glass and into the crowd, and the face-off will stay just inside the Duluth blue line.
I'd be interested to find out, Tom, and I don't know how we would, except for maybe to write the NCAA, if that's ever been done before in that manner. I'm sure there have been natural hat tricks before, although those are few and far between as well, but to get one even, like you mentioned, even strength power play and shorthanded, I would doubt if that had ever been done before.
Well, if it has, it's definitely been a rarity, and it has to be a very exciting time for Eric Lamarck, something he'll always remember, even once he hangs up the skates when the playing days are over.
No doubt about that.
Battling for the puck in behind the goal is Antos. Long pass up ice. Here's a breakaway for Sandy Smith. Smith going right in on Pye. Saved by Pye. What a save there.
Oh, that a great play, both by Duluth. You can see Smith kind of playing as a cherry picker out near center ice, just waiting and waiting, and finally his man spotted him and drilled the pass to him. We can get a look at that again. Billy Pye coming up with an outstanding save as Sandy Smith was in all alone.
One by one, the Wildcats go back to congratulate number 1, Bill Pye. What a pass.
Yeah, great pass as Sandy Smith just out there at center ice waiting for it. Bill Pye reached out with that catching glove and snared it. What a save by Bill Pye. Still 2-0 Wildcats.
From the face-off loose puck as Pye pokes at it, came right back at him, though, off the stick of Scott Keller. This is Podrasky starting out of his own zone to Jacobson. Jacobson off the Berger through center ice. Berger in over the line. Nice move around. Backhand. Right on. Save. Rebound. And Berger just missed the open side of the goal. Erickson made the save on the first and just barely missed having the third goal scored against him on the rebound. Jago in behind his own goal. Long pass up into the center ice zone. A little bit too far that time for Stu Plont. This is Pete Podrasky in his own end. Podrasky with a move to get away from Scott Keller. Podrasky coming in over the line. Podrasky loses it momentarily in the skates, gets hauled down from behind. Both players back out of the penalty box. Both teams back at full strength. A long shot from center ice sails wide of the Cat goal. Phil Sukharov tries to get away. Can't control. Loose puck. Oh, that hit the post, I believe.
I'm not sure, Tom, if it didn't hit the post. It was a great save by Billy Pye.
Well, it definitely hit something, and I think it caught maybe crossbar goalpost. But that one had Pye beat somewhere. 2-0 Northern Michigan, nearing the midway point of the first period. Sukharov in behind his own goal off to Kevin Scott. Scott with the first Northern Michigan goal. Loose puck in the center ice zone. It'll be cleared back in by Amundsen. A little too far for Jen Austin. And John Good has it. Good for Garrow in center ice. Garrow streaks down the right side. Garrow's going to wind up for a shot. Right on rebound. Oh, and Erickson had the puck go off the skate of Phil Brown, and he dove back to cover up.
Oh, very nearly a third Wildcat goal as the defenseman for Duluth, Chris Miller, left Garrow, turned to take the center man, and Garrow went streaking down the right side and blasted the shot. The rebound came right out front. Phil Brown, being tied up, couldn't get his stick on it. Otherwise, he might have had an easy time of it, and it would have been 3-0, but it remains 2-zip Northern Michigan.
Duluth clears down into the Northern Michigan zone. Bill Pye out of his goal, clears it off the far side boards for Dallas Drake. Held in momentarily by the Bulldogs. Loose puck in front of the goal, and the referee's going to whistle a hand pass against Northern Michigan.
12:47 to play first period, game 2 of this best-of-3 series. Wildcats won game 1, 7-2. They lead this one 2-0.
The winner of this series will play next Sunday in St. Paul, Minnesota. And if the Wildcats win here tonight or win this weekend, they will play the early game in St. Paul next Sunday. I believe it's a 2 o'clock start Minnesota time.
Wildcats would go up against the, well, we'll explain it a little bit later. The team with the worst record will go up against the team with the best record in one semifinal, and the 2 in-between teams would play the other game. Of course, that could work out a number of different ways, but right now the home teams this weekend, North Dakota, Wisconsin, and Minnesota, all holding 1-0 edges.
Well, to put it, to clear things up, Ron, if Northern Michigan wins here and Wisconsin wins the Michigan Tech series, it would be Northern Michigan and Wisconsin at the 2 o'clock game next Sunday afternoon.
Should be a dandy. They played 4 great games this year.
Olsen with the puck from the face-off, coming back to center ice. Throws it down into the MDN. Chad Erickson out of the goal. Baskey has it poked away. Centering attempt comes out front. Wayne Sager has it. Sager had a goal last night. He clears this one all the way down the ice. It'll be icing against the Bulldogs.
Let me amend that. 4 great games, John. The Wildcats played 3 great games against Wisconsin. Did not look that good in the one loss in Madison. Badgers had 4 power play goals in that one, but the other 3 were dandies. Wildcats winning in overtime in Wisconsin, winning an overtime game here at Lakeview, and beating Wisconsin, or tying Wisconsin in the other contest here at Lakeview.
Drake, Galicki, and Ward for Northern Michigan. Podrasky and Olsen back on the blue line. Lindbergh can't control the face-off. Olsen from the draw throws it in behind the goal. Centering attempt out front for Galicki off the backhand. Loose puck in front of the goal. Cleared away by Lindbergh. Back through center ice. Sandy Smith ridden off the play nicely by Olsen, and it's offside as Lindbergh touches it inside the Northern Michigan blue line.
Wildcats lead it 2-0. Goals by Kevin Scott, his 8th, and Phil Berger, his 23rd. As you see the NMU Hockey Banquet coming up Monday, March 13th at the University Center in the Great Lakes Room. Cash bar at 6, dinner at 7, program at 8. Tickets on sale now at the cashier's office. Mangos and Golden Wildcat Club. Adults $10, children under 12, $7.50.
Clearing down into the Northern Michigan zone is John Roloff. Wawrinka starts out John Good. Good's pass. No one home for Northern Michigan. Jago clears it right back in behind the Cat goal. Northern Michigan sets it up once again. Wawrinka, long pass up ice for Garrow. That's too far. Make that Lamarck, and that'll be an icing call against Northern Michigan.
Well, the Wildcats out to a lead tonight just as they were in game 1, and certainly not what Duluth was hoping for. They put in the freshman goaltender Chad Erickson, hoping to change their fortunes a little bit, but the Wildcats would get on the board first anyway.
Dean Antos on your screen, Ron, and I had a gentleman come up to me last night and say that everybody's been mispronouncing Antos's name, and I guess originally it was Antos in Canada. And I talked to Dean in the locker room last night, and he said Antos. He said, I don't really care. He just said, just get it right when I score.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say it any differently than Antos, but Antos apparently the correct pronunciation.
Well, I'm going to stick with Antos because I'll get confused.
Yeah, not only that, people will start telling us we're saying it wrong.
new Northern Michigan recruit.
That's right.
Puck into the near side corner. Fighting for it there, Eric Lamarck back to the blue line. A long shot that gets deflected twice off the stick of Chris Miller. And the Wildcats drill back to the red line where Miller clears it right back in. First person back will be John Good for Northern Michigan. 11:25 left, opening period. Wildcats by a deuce at 2-0. Battling to get that puck out is Daryl Plandowski. Duluth clears it right back into the zone as Jan Austin does the honors. Brad Wawrinka, backhand pass for Antos. Loose puck, quick shot, that sails wide of the goal off the stick of Sean Podine. Back in behind the Northern Michigan goal. Miller pinches in to keep the puck in the zone. Lamarck finally gets it back out to the center red line. Jan Austin throws it right back in for Minnesota-Duluth. John Good lobs it back in behind the goal for Brad Wawrinka. Takes a hit down there. Up into center ice for Plandowski. Plandowski wants to come off the ice, throws it down into the Duluth end. Berger bodies his man in the near side corner. Loose puck up to the blue line and out of the zone. Sean Podine. Back to center ice. Andrusak clears it in. Pye leaves that for Phil Sukharov. Sukharov clears near side boards. Back in behind the goal. Kevin Kaiser, a freshman, working hard. Newer, another freshman for Northern Michigan, ties him up. Jacobson comes away with the puck. Jacobson in over the line for Berger. Berger down into the near side corner around the defenseman Vasky. Gets bumped off twice, held up a little bit, now knocked down to the ice. Crowd on its feet down in the Duluth zone. Jacobson in behind the goal for Berger. Berger on the backhand. Berger right in front of the goal. Loose puck, and Erickson made the save there. Puck into the corner. Porter upended, but gets up to clear it. Bulldogs will finally clear their zone as Vasky gets it up through center ice. In over the line, a quick shot, and Pye sticks that off the glass. Came off the stick of Kevin Kaiser all the way back down the ice. It'll be an icing call against Northern Michigan.
Well, so far tonight, Buzz Christensen time keeping his whistle in his pocket. The crowd not happy with it, but he's been consistent tonight. And again, that's the one thing the players and the coaches like. At least if you're consistent, you can read how to play the hockey game.
Well, a couple of things went by the boards as Berger got manhandled. There we take a look at Phil and his statistics on the season, including the goal tonight. Pair of glasses on the ice down by Chad Erickson.
Well, it's a bet the linesman won't be taking it over to Buzz.
I don't think they were bifocals, Ron.
I don't know what they were, but well, for whoever was the thrower's sake, that there weren't real glass in there.
Oh, they weren't mine. I've still got mine on tonight.
You can still see the ice.
I can even see the face-off circle out here. Brown wins the face-off for Northern Michigan. Cleared around the boards by Podrasky. Garrow's long pass through center ice. Here's Kevin Scott winding up for a blast. Right on. Loose puck on the rebound. Oh, and shooting it just wide was Phil Brown. Brown wheeling around in the slot. Whipped that puck just wide. Kevin Scott ties his man up far side corner. Brown in to take it away. Brown being held up in behind the goal. And Duluth will finally come away with a puck. Long pass up through center ice. Down into the Northern Michigan zone. Pete Podrasky first person back. Clearing pass for Garrow. Brown bodies Jago right in the center ice neutral zone. Olsen will turn back in his own zone off to Podrasky. 8:45 left, first period. Northern Michigan 2 and Duluth no score. First period Northern Michigan goals by Kevin Scott and Phil Berger. Drake throws it back to the center red line. Takes a hit right there from Jan Austin. Duluth controls with Miller coming out of his own zone. Off to Lindbergh. Lindbergh fakes a shot. Tries to go around Podrasky. Right on, and Pye sticks that in behind the goal. Podrasky just clears it back to center ice, and Jan Austin throws it off of Lindbergh's pads. Turning back into his own zone is Chris Miller. Miller takes the return pass, comes through center ice. Miller in over the line, a quick shot, and Pye gloves that, and he's going to hang on. Down to 8 minutes left. 2-0 Northern Michigan.
Well, so far, Tom, tonight, the first 12 minutes of the hockey game, the Wildcats are doing a much better job defensively than they did in game one. Of course, you didn't have to go very far to play a better defensive game, but they're picking up the puck a lot earlier, and overall just keeping Duluth, generally speaking, away from that Wildcat net.
Well, they're going a lot more by the book tonight, Ron, from as far as I can see, as far as trying to get the puck out of your own zone. They're working it along the boards instead of trying to skate it right up the center of the ice, and that always creates a problem. Lots of bad things can happen when you try and take it right up the center.
Well, several did last night, but Billy Pye was equal to the task on most occasions.
So far, Pye tonight has also been sharp, stopping Sandy Smith on a clear-cut breakaway earlier this period. Landowski upends his man in the center ice zone. Wawrinka just clears it back to the Duluth blue line. Andrusak cross ice to Vasky. Vasky takes a look. His pass a little bit too far. Goes off the stick of Scott Keller. Back into his own zone is Eric Lamarck. Clearing for Brad Wawrinka. Wawrinka plays it back the other way to John Good. Off the boards for Lamarck. Wildcats working the boards to get it out of the zone once again. Antos held up just outside the blue line. Bulldogs clear it right back into the zone. Wawrinka, first person back for Northern Michigan, pulls away from Darren Amundsen. Center ice pass a little bit too far for Antos, cleared back in. John Good will try his luck with 7 minutes left, opening period. The Wildcat captain takes a look, brings it back through center ice. Cross ice in over the line for Plandowski, clearing pass in behind the goal. Jacobson will be the first man there. Jacobson looking for Berger out front of the goal, can't find him. Pile up into the far side corner as Plandowski gets there along with Andrusak and Jacobson, and the faceoff will stay in the Duluth zone off to the right side of Chad Erickson.
Wildcats have never been past the first round of the WCHA playoffs. They are looking to do that this time. Being carried off the ice, Jerry Chamola. He's being assisted by a teammate and presumably one of the trainers, and looks like he's favoring his left leg.
It's a bad sign for the Bulldogs as Chumala is their #1 scorer on the hockey team, 35 points on the season, 18 goals, 17 assists. A sophomore from Starbuck, Manitoba.
Although I don't think he figured in the scoring last night.
No, he didn't. Jacobson will be facing Sean Podine, a junior from Rochester, Minnesota.
It's cute, Tom. Linesman went over specifically to tell all three of those players to stay out of the circle. And as he was backing up, they were sliding 2 feet inside the circle, all three of them.
The face-off, Berger tries to snap off a quick shot. That gets broken up. Porter clears it back in behind the goal for Jacobson. That's too far. Berger double-teamed in the near side corner. Still tries to come away with the puck. Porter there to step into his man. Berger still tries to kick it free. Does so. But the Bulldogs will bring it back through center ice. Darren Noss just throws it deep into the Wildcat zone. Sukharov hustles back to pick it up. Clearing pass, won't make it out of the zone. A drive by Jago, and Pye snaps that off.
Well, Dale Jago had that lower right-hand corner ticketed on that shot, and Billy Pye had to lean back and reach out with the catching glove and draw it in. Scott from Garrow and Newer at 3:07. Berger from Wawrinka and Jacobson at 4:19. That second goal coming with the teams playing 4 skaters aside. Sukharov heading to the penalty box for the Wildcats. So Phil Sukharov picks up a penalty, and the Wildcats will be shorthanded. First power play up, I guess not. They're going to send number 16 of the Duluth Bulldogs to the box as well. Kevin Kaiser will sit, so they're matching penalties at 13:42.
Both teams will skate 4-on-4 for the second time in this hockey game. The first time they skated 4-on-4, Northern Michigan scored a goal. Dallas Drake out with Podrasky, Olsen, and Galicki. Drake breaks up a centering attempt and brings it back through center ice. Drake back in over the Duluth line. Centering pass off Galicki's skate along the far side boards. First person there is Lindbergh, and he hustles back through center ice. Lindbergh over the Northern Michigan line. Being bothered there, drop pass, stick save by Pye. Galicki takes it into the near side corner. Center ice pass, Dallas Drake. Drake tries to go around his man, is not successful. Olsen steps into Chris Miller just outside the blue line, and Dallas Drake regains control. Drake has it in his skates, clears it down into the Duluth zone. Sandy Smith goes back for Minnesota-Duluth. Center ice for Lindbergh. Lindbergh coming down in over the line, 2-on-3. His shot gets deflected away by John Good. Daryl Olson turns in the far side corner. Good, center ice for Antos. Antos off for Plandowski. Plandowski in over the line, a quick shot and chest high. Erickson makes the save. Puck into the corner, Lindbergh has it. Lindbergh ridden down by Plandowski. And we have a meeting in the far side corner. Face-off will stay in the Duluth zone.
Lindbergh taking his time getting up on Daryl Plandowski. Of course, when you have a player on the bottom of you, there's no hurry. If it's opposite or different colored jersey than your own anyway. 48 seconds to go on the high sticking penalties to Kaiser and Sugarov. 5:06 to play first period. The Wildcats still with that 2-0 lead.
A look at Marquette's own Doug Garrow, wearing the green and gold number 12. Garrow coming into the hockey game tonight. 11 goals, 9 assists, a 20-point season for the junior from Marquette.
One of his biggest goals, of course, time that game winner in overtime at Madison against the Badgers.
Play held in at the blue line by Wawrinka. Knocked down by Wawrinka in the center ice zone, and Kevin Scott has to turn away with it. Kevin Scott takes it back in over the Duluth line, charging from the side. Scott right out front of the goal. Held up at the last moment, and the Bulldogs will skate it out of their own zone. Coming back to center ice, Scott make that Noss. Noss around the outside of Good, gets hauled down. Christensen looks at that, lets it go, and Wawrinka comes back the other way. Brad Wawrinka back in over the line. That looked offside to me, Ron. Puck back to the blue line and now back out into the center ice zone. Wawrinka tries it once again. Off to Garrow, tries to duck underneath his man, that being Amundsen. Play whistle down this time on the offside.
Well, if I was getting paid to be the linesman, I'd have blown my whistle on that one, but so far tonight, and again, Buzz Christensen keeping his whistle in his pocket. He's whistled just 4 penalties, 2 his side, and they were both matching penalties each time, and he's let some things go both ways, and I'm sure that as long as he keeps doing that, both teams won't mind that a bit.
Both teams back at full strength as 2 players come out of the penalty box. Northern Michigan's most recently penalized. Sukharov starts out Jacobson. Center ice pass for Berger coming down one-on-one. Berger against Jago. Berger on the outside, a quick snapshot right along the ice. No problem that time for Chad Erickson. Back through center ice. In a hurry comes Amundsen. In over the line. Amundsen drop pass. Jago winds up, scores!
You know, Tom, right before that goal, I was just going to say, I think if Northern Michigan gets a 3-0 lead, you're going to see a lot of air go out of the sails of the Bulldogs, but they get the next goal. It comes at 16:09, and Minnesota-Duluth right back in the hockey game as they trail it now just 2-1. As we watch the replay, Jago just wound up and drilled it.
Northern Michigan's lead cut in half now at 2-1. Bulldogs last night fell behind 3-0. Tonight 2-0. But had themselves right back in the hockey game. Back in over the line, trying to get the break in was Amundsen. Unsuccessful, and John Good clears it back out into center ice. Berger battles for it there off to Jacobson. Jacobson down and over the line, overskates the puck. Coming back for the Bulldogs, Scott Keller. Keller back and over the line. That play was offside. Centering pass off to the side of the goal. Loose puck coming from the side. Dave Porter just clears it back to the blue line, and this time they're going to blow it.
Yeah, that play was again offside, Tom, but they did not whistle it dead. You know, it's funny, the Bulldogs really, in my mind, fortunate to be down just 2-1 because throughout much of this period, Northern Michigan has really done a good job of controlling the puck in both ends. And in fact, I was trying to think of the last time Duluth had a shot on net before that goal by Jago, and it had been a while.
Well, they haven't had too many good chances here in the opening period. Of course, one was the Smith breakaway. But aside from that, most of the shots on Pye have been from a long distance back along the blue line. Bulldogs throw it back into the Northern Michigan zone. Olson going at it with Sean Podine. Puck cleared back towards the blue line, held in by Noss. Kevin Kaiser can't control it. Podrasky comes away. Center ice, Lamarck. Cross ice, Plandowski. Throws it down into the Duluth zone. First person back is Dennis Vasky, turning in the far side corner. Vasky will skate it out of his own zone. Pass up a little too far for Noss through center ice. That'll go far enough to be an icing call. And with 2:34 left first period, Wildcats still hold the 1-goal lead at 2-1.
Dale Jago with his 12th goal of the year for Duluth. Assist going to Amundsen and Sager at 16:09, getting the Bulldogs back in this hockey game at 2-1.
Drake, Galicki, Ward for Northern Michigan. Podrasky and Olson back on the blue line. Chris Lindberg's line with Doug Terrell on the left side and Sandy Smith on the right for Mike Sertich's Bulldogs. Podrasky from the face-off a drive, and Erickson got a pad on that as he did the butterfly. Olson pinches in to hold at the blue line momentarily, but Lindberg circles back around. Knocked away in center ice. Loose puck, knocked back into the zone momentarily by Galicki, but Lindberg does a nice job to get it to Jago. Jago turns, his pass knocked down by Ward. Bulldogs clear back into the Northern Michigan zone. We've played 18 minutes of the opening period. Puck cleared all the way down the ice. We'll have yet another icing call on Northern Michigan this time.
Exactly 2 minutes to play in the opening period. 2-1 Wildcats. Scott and Berger for Northern Michigan. Jago for UMD. Chad Erickson has definitely been the busier of the two goaltenders here in the first period. But the Bulldogs down just a goal as we head into this final 2 minutes of the first period.
Sean Howard will take the face-off. He's meeting Phil Brown for Northern Michigan. Wildcats cleared in behind their own goal. This is Garrow on the right side. Garrow, center ice pass for Brown, skips off his stick. Glove forward by the Duluth defenseman, Jen Austin. That play whistled down. You know, Ron, that Michigan Tech-Wisconsin game last night was even a closer game than it appeared. The Badgers got off to a 3-0 lead in that game. Tech came back to 3-2 in the third period before Wisconsin put it away. 5-2 was the final score there.
That's just such a difficult place to play. It's bad enough in the regular season when you get to the playoffs and you still have that same rowdy red crowd in there, and you bet they're even more gung-ho for the playoffs than they are during the regular season. It's just a terribly difficult job.
Wildcats play the body twice in the Duluth zone. Warinka pinches in to hold at the blue line. Puck into the corner. Phil Brown tries to direct it. Battling Kevin Scott in behind the goal. Northern Michigan player being held in behind the goal. That's Doug Garrow. Bulldogs will finally turn in their own zone. Garrow breaks that up again. And down on top of the puck, and the faceoff will be just inside the blue line. And we've got a penalty coming up. And I think, Ron, that's on Northern Michigan.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me a bit the way the crowd is reacting. Kevin Scott looks like he's going to get called for a slash at 18:41, and so for the first time tonight, there'll be a power play opportunity. Scott, of course, will have to head for the locker room because there are less than 2 minutes to go. So Duluth on its first power play of the night.
A minute 19 left in the opening period, and Duluth with a chance to tie up the hockey game going into intermission. Crowd letting Buzz Christensen know their feelings.
Oh, especially, Tom, since moments prior to that, Doug Garrow was getting everything but hog-tied, and I didn't see the slash. Apparently, Buzz thought it was hard enough to warrant a penalty, and you have to believe he must be right because he has been letting virtually everything go here in this first period.
Jago sets it up for Chris Lindberg back through center ice. Lindberg on the move. Lindberg fakes the shot, dumps it for Sandy Smith. Doesn't go. Warinka back in behind his own goal. Held in at the blue line by Jago. Under a minute to play. Opening period. Warinka clears it. Jago holds at the blue line. Little spin move, but Warinka steps up and knocks it back into the Duluth end. Baskey goes back in behind his own goal for Minnesota-Duluth. Starts off Jago. Jago and Baskey back on the blue line. Jago shoots it down into the Northern Michigan zone. Sandy Smith pinches in to try and hold. Plandowski clears around behind. Wawrinka moves it further. Lamarck, Plandowski, and back down the ice. 20 seconds left, opening period. Wildcats by a goal. This is Darren Noss back in over the line. Sandy Smith back on the blue line. Lindbergh takes it low. Back to Jago. A shot right on. Loose puck. That got redirected out front. Cats clear it back out in the center ice. 5 seconds to go, opening period. Wildcats will try and rag the rest of this one out. 1 second left, and that'll wrap up the first period of play as the buzzer sounds. And Northern Michigan will take a 1-goal lead into the locker room at 2-1.
Good save by Billy Pye, Tom, right before the period ended as he was being screened out front by Sandy Smith, who was wrestling with Brad Wawrinka out there.
2-1 after 20 minutes, and we'll be back with more WCHA playoff action after sponsor identification.
WCHA first round playoff action on Channel 8 is brought to you by Avant Gardens Floral, your FTD florist for flowers and plants. 1621 Presque Isle, Marquette. EQ Muffler Shop, serving Marquette County in a family-owned related business for 52 years. 250 East Hampton. Ask about our delivery service at Mr. Donut, open 24 hours, 1301 South Front Street, Marquette. For cozy fireside dining, try the Portside Inn, voted NMU's best pizza, 239 West Washington Street, Marquette.
I would like a large number 16 delivered to 1900 Bluff Street.
Okay, we'll have that to you right away. There you go, Dave, 1900 Bluff Street.
Okay.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's a sub.
Dine in, take out, or call for quick delivery at Togo's, home of the original sub sandwich.
You're watching WCHA Hockey Playoffs on MCTV, Channel 8, a service of Bresnan Communications.
That's our score as the Wildcats lead the Duluth Bulldogs after 1 period of play. Northern Michigan getting on the board first, not quite as quickly, but quickly nonetheless, Tom, just as they did last night. Great hustle play by that line. Kevin Scott, Doug Garrow, Phil Newer had the other assist as we watched Kevin Scott just rip in and bang the shot past Erickson. Well, we didn't see much of it, but he came flying in from the left and just wound up and drilled it. That gave the Wildcats a 1-0 lead at 3:07. Then at 4:19, with both teams short-handed a man, Phil Berger picked up a goal as he just wound up and blasted a cannon from the face-off circle, and Chad Erickson didn't have much of a chance on that one.
As I pointed out in that first period, Ron, Berger, I think a lot of times likes to take the wrist shot, and this time he just winds up and whips it, and he has a good slap shot, and it caught Erickson by surprise.
That made it 2-0, and from then on, the Wildcats really controlled a lot of the play in that first period, I thought, although, as we'll see in a moment, Duluth actually outshot Northern Michigan, which I guess surprised me, but Jago got the Bulldogs back to within a goal. Amundsen and Sager assisting at 16:09. Jago just wound up, and he fired a shot from between the rings, a little bit out top of that, and to beat Billy Pye.
Well, Duluth hasn't had too many scoring opportunities down below the face-off circles. And even that one, that's about the lowest they've been. They've had a total of 2 shots on goal from below the face-off circles in that first period. The rest of them came from farther on out.
Sandy Smith, of course, on the breakaway. The only other players to get a shot from in close, a couple of them for Duluth, Sean Podine and also Chris Lindbergh, but he was at a tough angle.
Look at Walt Kyle, Northern Michigan assistant coach, and behind the Wildcat bench. Of course, Walter's been responsible for a lot of the recruiting of these hockey players the past couple of years. Has done an excellent job in that respect. Of course, former Northern Michigan hockey player. Knows all about the playoffs.
Still, I think he's still the only person to score a goal in championship play for 2 different teams. Of course, doing that with the Wildcats and Boston College. Still 41 seconds to go in the Kevin Scott penalty. He went out for a slash at 18:41.
Northern Michigan will have their work cut out for them here in the opening moments of the second period. Duluth would like to even things off as quickly as possible, but the Wildcats would like it to have it go the other way. Bill Pye going to do a little house cleaning down there first.
Northern Michigan wins this hockey game. They go on to the WCHA Final Four to be played in St. Paul Sunday night and Monday night.
You know, that is a misprint on the schedule also, because the Wildcat schedule shows them playing earlier in the weekend. And that series in St. Paul is actually a Sunday and a Monday. 2-1, Northern Michigan. Second period play-by-play. Here's Ron Plum.
Thank you, Tom. The high school championships going on at the St. Paul Civic Center that weekend. That's why it's a Sunday-Monday affair.
Nice building they've got there.
I haven't seen it yet, but someday, maybe. Billy Pye can't decide what to do with it, then lost the puck, but Wildcats can't clear it yet. A fan on the shot by Vasky. Antos poked it out. Plandowski lets a high shot go. Popped off the boards out to the face-off circle behind the net. Dale Jago controls for the Bulldogs. Jago cross ice. Vasky turns and banks it over the blue line. Chris Lindbergh picks it up. Circles back and then heads out. Chris Lindbergh left the puck behind him. It'll be blown dead on the offside. 2 seconds left, and the penalty to Kevin Scott. Kevin Scott will be out of the box in 2 seconds, and the teams will be back at full strength.
So Northern Michigan, Ron, has basically done their job in the opening seconds here of the second period. That's to kill off the Duluth power play. And with 2 seconds left in the face-off in the neutral center ice zone, it's safe to say that they've done that.
Game 1 of this series, there were 12 power play opportunities. I think 7 by Duluth. They hit on 1. Northern Michigan, I think 1 of 5. So far tonight, doesn't look like we'll get anywhere near that. Kevin Scott's penalty, the first power play opportunity for either team in this hockey game.
Neither team, Ron, has made a living on the power play this year.
I think Northern Michigan has been complaining about their percentage. Well, Duluth's even worse. They're at 17.7%, and now down a little bit from that as both teams again at full strength. Puck up along the boards. Kept in by Garrow. Kevin Scott got tied up. Couldn't get to the puck. Now Garrow throws a check into Chris Miller. Bill Brown took a hit over there from Sean Howard. Finally, Duluth will work it out as Jerry Chumala, who was injured in the first period, is back on the ice for the Bulldogs. Lead pass for Doug Garrow got briefly hook checked, and that slowed him down just enough and allowed Johnston to get back and play Garrow off the puck. Pass out blocked by Dave Porter, picked up by Chris Miller. Miller takes a hit from Jacobson. Troy with the puck. Sends it out front. It was deflected behind Phil Berger, who was cutting in. Orenka pushes it down behind the net. Chasing it up the boards is Jacobson. Troy gets it right out front to Dave Porter. A shot and a save. Their backhand rebound by Berger, and they score! Or did they? I guess not. Boy, I thought they did as Chad Erickson looked behind him, and I thought the puck was in the net.
Puck went off the right goal post. And if we can get a look at it on the replay,
Chad Erickson wanted that whistle blown a lot sooner from the looks of that conversation.
Buzzy Christensen was right on the goal line and made the right call. That puck never did go in the goal.
Both Berger and Porter had great chances. Watch Jacobson feed it out. It went behind Berger there. Sent down. Right here. And the Wildcats do score as we come back. And it's a 3-1 hockey game. .206 the time of the goal, and the Wildcats lead it now 3-1.
As fate would have it, Ron, no replay on that one either, but the Cats do get a 2-goal lead back.
Troy Jacobson starts out again for the Wildcats. That shot by Berger hit the post. Berger with that goal for the Wildcats. Jacobson wrapped up, and Duluth doesn't clear the zone yet, but they're working on it. Sent up ice all the way down the ice. It'll be an icing against Minnesota-Duluth.
I believe they gave the only assist on that goal to Dave Porter, although I'm not sure. We didn't get an official confirmation from across the ice. I tried to pick it up off the PA system. Possibly John Good, Ron.
I'll take your word for it. We can't hear anything from the press box. Apparently they can down in the control room. We're going to get a puck knocked down with a high stick. It'll come back out over the blue line.
Well, it's been a season of firsts in many ways, Ron, and I think that's the first time that we've actually missed a goal while we're showing a replay.
Well, that's life sometimes.
Yep. The replay was worth it, though. A lot of action down there.
Face off to the left to Billy Pye. The Cats again with a 2-goal lead. It'll be Drake in against Amundsen. Amundsen won the draw out to the right point. Drive never got through, and Drake clears the rebound. Here comes Ed Ward down the right side. Ward pushes it into the Duluth zone. Bulldogs get there first, but Drake picks it up in the corner. Dallas Drake trying to lay the puck down right out front, and Ward tried to tip it in, or Galicki tried to tip it in, and he tipped it by the side of the net. Finally, the Bulldogs clear it down ice. Podrasky will catch up with it in his own end. Pass to the open right wing, went by everyone. Played by Terrell. Terrell still with it. Galicki gave a poke at him as he went by, but he sent it around the board. Sandy Smith dumps it back into the corner. Puck loose behind the net. Darrell Olson comes right out in front of his own net. Got it up ahead on the right to Galicki. Now Drake with it. Drake had it poked off his stick, and the Wildcats will have to wait for their teammates to clear the zone. As injured on the play is Pat Janaston. Well, it would appear from his reaction that he took a shot to the head, although we're not sure whether it was an elbow, a stick, or whatever.
I was watching the play come back out in the center ice zone, Ron. I didn't see him go down either. Well, it looks like he's fine right now. Just got his bell rung a little bit.
16:06 to play, period number 2. The Wildcats lead it 3-1. Play loose at the Bulldog blue line, pulled out of there by Andrzejak. Warenka fires it right back in. Erickson left it behind his net out to the right point. John Good plays it. Good center right on net, deflected just wide as Plandowski was out there. Plandowski again as he was set up by Lamarck, and Erickson equal to the task as he makes 2 saves. And now Antos takes a shot to the head, and there'll be a Bulldog penalty.
Well, Antos kept his cool that time and took not 1 swipe but 2 from the Duluth player, and Christensen saw the second one.
So the Wildcats, if justice prevails, will go on the power play here.
Plandowski with all kinds of chances.
Baskey gets the roughing call. Northern Michigan on the power play for the first time tonight.
This will be the first power play opportunity of the hockey game, Ron, for Northern Michigan.
Wildcats will send Phil Berger, Eric Lamarck, Daryl Plandowski, Dean Antos, and Pete Podrasky to start this power play. 15:43 to go first period. Wildcats already with a 3-1 lead. Another goal, and we might see the Bulldogs emotionally collapse. Still a ways to go in this hockey game. Plandowski chases it back to the point where he almost lost it. Lamarck checked off the puck. Plandowski with a good job to keep the play in. Berger to the side of the net. Phil Berger out to Podrasky. Back to Berger, top of the circle. Down low, Antos deflected it, but it was wide. Now Lamarck to Plandowski. Plandowski's pass for Antos knocked down, but Dean has it. Antos out on top to Podrasky. Back to Lamarck. Lamarck with 3 goals last night. Trying to set something up here. Plandowski had to go through his skates, but he regains it. Right out front to Podrasky, a shot, and Erickson to save, and Chad Erickson will cover it up with Berger and Antos standing right out front waiting for a rebound.
Good opportunity that time for Pete Podrasky off the pass from Daryl Plandowski, but no Wildcat available for the rebound. That was covered up nicely down there by the goaltender Erickson.
1:16 to go on the Wildcat power play, their first chance of the night. Duluth 0 for 1 on the power play. Antos in to take the draw. He'll go up against Sean Podine.
Bulldogs, Ron, need a stop right here. Northern Michigan would like to extend the lead.
Well, you don't like to call a game over with in the second period, but if the Wildcats should score again, given the fact that Duluth does not score a lot, it could be the beginning of the end. But first, the Wildcats have to cash in. Antos up the boards for Plandowski. 2 Bulldogs over there. Plandowski dumped it back in the corner for Antos, who has his stick held by Andrzejak. And Berger ties it up along the boards, and they'll get a whistle.
A couple of extra shots after the whistle again. Down to a minute left in the roughing penalty to Vasky. Northern Michigan led 2-1 after the first period. Made it 3-1 at the 2:06 mark as Berger got his second of the hockey game from John Good. Berger still looking for that elusive first hat trick of the season. Be a nice time to get one.
Bulldogs win the draw, and it's backhanded out to center ice by Podine. Lamarck chases, sends it up ice for Antos. Pass deflected behind Plandowski, and the Bulldogs push it back into the Wildcat end. 40 seconds to go on the power play as Antos starts it behind his own net. Quick pass up ahead off the stick of Plandowski. Berger will pick it up. Sent it out front. It bounced loose. Plandowski couldn't control after the Bulldogs failed twice to clear it away because of the bounce. Now Andrzejak back the other way. Goes right around Lamarck. Backhands the shot and Pye the save. Bulldogs tough. Lindbergh a backhander. That never got through as it hit the stick of Podrasky. 15 seconds to go in the Wildcat power play, but Duluth had a couple of good scoring chances there while they were shorthanded.
That was as close, Ron, as the Wildcats have come this season to giving up a shorthanded goal.
Pye clears it away from Sandy Smith. Up along the boards, Galicki plays it as the power play is over. Back behind the Wildcat net, Darrell Olson will wait it out there. Now Olson looking, feeds it up ahead to Galicki. Jeff Galicki over the line. Tried to get it to Drake, but it was tipped away by Janastin onto the stick of Smith. Backhand to Lindbergh. Pye will play it up the boards for Ed Ward. It got past him. Chris Miller sends it toward the net, but it's picked off by Sukharov. Up ahead to Ward. Ed Ward trying to go around Miller, and they take the linesman with him. Behind the net, it's Drake with it. Dallas Drake tries to get it out front and does, but it went past Galicki as he was tied up by Chris Miller, and then Galicki dragged to the ice. Sandy Smith just clears it into the Wildcat end as Sukharov chases, left it behind the net for Olson. Olson's pass knocked down by Smith, the drive, and Pye deflected it away. Now in the near corner, they'll tie it up and get a whistle again. Wildcats put it right on the stick of Sandy Smith, who drilled a shot, but Billy Pye equal to the task. Might have been a little high anyway.
Defense a little bit on the loosey-goosey side that time. Got to clear that puck around the boards. Not going to do any good trying to set it up the center of the ice.
Shades of game one when the Wildcats gave it away numerous times in their own zone, but Duluth never able to cash in on it.
The fundamental clearing play in hockey. The Wildcats getting away a bit from that here in the weekend series.
Phil Brown in to take the draw against Darren Amundsen. Puck comes back to the Wildcat blue line and out of the zone, cleared right back in by the Bulldogs. John Roloff put it down there, and then the Wildcats can't get it out. Phil Brown, though, with the loose puck, and he'll backhand it out to center ice. Roloff played it ahead. Wawrinka has it. His pass up ahead got past two Wildcats, and it's turned back by Amundsen. Puck stays in the Cat zone as Jago digs in. In the corner, they battle for it. Pull right out front. The shot went over the top of the net. Quick wrist shot by Stu Plante. Brad Wawrinka behind the net to Johnny Good. Up to center ice. Now the Wildcats, Doug Garrow. He'll drive a shot. Nicely blocked by Vasky. Looked like he'd come up limping.
He felt that one.
Like a hit right around the boot. Vasky will skate it out. Vasky down into the zone. Billy Pye up along the boards for Garrow. His pass knocked down. It stays in. Howard fed it out front. Keller couldn't get a stick on it, and back comes Jacobson to Dave Porter. Porter knocked into the boards as Jacobson digs it out of the corner. Back to the point. Darrell Olson almost lost it. Feeds it behind the net. On the other side, it's Berger digging after it, and they almost take Christensen with him. Berger still with it. Got it down for Jacobson, a pass for Porter, and he hit the side of the net. And then Duluth will clear it to the line, but not out. Podrasky will drive a shot, and Erickson the save as Porter was screening out front. Wildcats putting the pressure on right now. Jacobson checks his man, Howard, but Howard reaches a stick out and pokes it out to center ice. Here comes Chamola. Still with it, sends it down low. Off the skate of Keller, he kicked it to the corner, and the Wildcats will play it there to the blue line, but not out. Now the Cats do clear the zone. Great pass by Porter. Berger drives a shot right along the ice, and Erickson kicked it to the side. Now Porter tied up in the corner. Jacobson tries to get to it, but it was poked along the far boards, the near boards, to us. Back into the opposite corner. Janastin tries to play it ahead. Sean Howard will skate it out. Wildcats 3, Duluth 1. There's a trip. There'll be a Wildcat penalty, a drive, Pye the save, and the Bulldogs will go on the power play for the second time in this hockey game at 9:55.
Duluth still very much in the hockey game. We've played almost exactly half of the hockey game this evening. Bulldogs trailing by a count of 3-1 as Phil Sukharov heads into the penalty box for Northern Michigan. 4th penalty on the Wildcats tonight for a total of 8 minutes. Special teams, Ron, going to play an important part right here. Wildcats going to try and keep Duluth from closing the gap.
Lindbergh in to take the face-off against Antos. Duluth wins the draw. Jago feeds it down along the boards for Lindbergh. Now Lindbergh dances toward the corner, feeds it back to Jago. Lindbergh again. Tried to send it out front. Warenka knocked it down with a stick, and Dave Porter will turn and fire it down the ice. Now Jago looking to send it ahead, and does. Right wing pass for Lindbergh into the Wildcat zone. Pulls up, fed it through the slot, but nobody was there. I don't know if that was a shot that slid off his stick or he was trying a hard pass down low, but in any event, it went wide to the corner. Warenka with it now for the Wildcats. All the way down the ice as Northern Michigan has killed off 45 seconds of this Bulldog power play.
Had the right idea a moment ago, Ron, trying to use Brad Warenka as a screen on Bill Pine. If that shot would have been in the direction of the goal, it might have been a good result for Duluth.
Fans wanted an icing as Duluth missed the pass at center ice, but they didn't get it. Then the Wildcats send it all the way back down behind the Bulldog net. Jago starts out slowly with it up ahead. Scott Keller on the left for Terrell. Lamarck turns and whips it out of the zone again. Now Vasky at center ice, bumped into his own man, but it's picked up by Terrell. Backhand pass up ahead to Keller. Can't get it into the Wildcat end. Now digging around for it. Kaiser being shadowed by Kevin Scott. Cleared to the far boards. Lamarck digs after it. Wildcats doing a great job. A shot by Kevin Scott. And Erickson got a piece of that. It probably would have been over the top of the net anyway. Scott with another good job to tie it up behind the Bulldog net and force a face-off into the Duluth zone with just 15 seconds to go in the Wildcat penalty.
Good job by the Wildcat penalty killers, Eric Lamarck and Kevin Scott teaming up that time. Scott with the opportunity as the Wildcats were looking for their 9th shorthanded goal of the season, and that man right there almost had number 9.
Scott with 8 goals on the season, 12 assists. He picked up his 8th tonight, the first goal of the hockey game, back at 3:07 of the first period. 8:20 to go here in the second, and the Wildcats with a 3-1 lead.
Of course, Ron, the 8th shorthanded goal of the season came last night. That was the second, or the hat-trick goal for Eric Lamarck.
Scott will take the draw against Podine. Both start, and they'll do it again. Kevin Scott backs up, catches his breath, surveys the situation. Now he'll cruise back in. Puck finally dropped, and it's played by Chris Miller. Miller behind his own net. 10 seconds left in the penalty to Sukharov. Play right in front of the penalty box. Duluth clears it into the Wildcat zone, but cleared right back out, and the Wildcats back at full strength. Here comes Kevin Scott. Sukharov following him. Scott with a drive, and Erickson looked like he might have been fooled on that shot. Knocked it down and then covered the rebound.
Oh, Northern Michigan penalty killers doing the job. That was the second power play that the Cats have killed off against the Bulldogs tonight. And an important one, as we pointed out, going into the power play, as the Bulldogs remain 2 goals down with 7:59 to play in second period hockey action.
We talked, Tom, coming into this game about how disappointed Rick Comley was in the defensive effort in game 1 of this series. Well, you might be able to get away with beating a 7th place team like Duluth, and again, it's been pointed out that Duluth probably better, or should be better than the record, but I'll tell you what, you get to the Final Four and you're not going to be able to play like that.
No, I agree, Ron. And, you know, the thing with Duluth right now is that maybe they're going through what Northern Michigan's gone through. They have a better group of hockey players than their record shows, much like Northern Michigan has had the past 3 or 4 years, but the chemistry just hasn't been right.
Poked away by Berger. Porter coming out of the zone, played it back for Berger. Now Berger behind a drop pass to Troy Jacobson. Sent through the slot. Berger was there, but it was picked off by Kaiser, and Kaiser starts down the right side. Kaiser over the Wildcat line, sends it over to the left. Chris Miller poked it deeper, but it's knocked down by Podrasky, and he'll skate it out. Now Dave Porter seemingly has been out there for about 5 minutes straight. Porter sent it out front for Berger. but it was knocked to the corner. Back up along the boards and making his way up the ice with it is Andrzejczyk. Played into the Wildcat zone, pushed back to the near boards. Moving in there after it is Plant. Sent right to the crease and knocked away to the corner again. Pass off the stick of Berger, but he took it away from a falling Stu Plant. Puck lay just inside the Duluth line. Played there by Vasky. Vasky up ahead off the stick of Wayne Sager, who had one of the Bulldog goals last night. Cleared right back down the ice, and Ward digging after it. It's onside. Ward can't take the angle, though, as he was ridden off by Roloff. Now Ward again behind the net. Roloff checked him away from the puck. It had already gone through his skates. Now Ward out to the point. Warenko with a weak wrist shot. It got deflected. The puck loose, and then it's cleared out to the right point by Plant. Kept in by Good. Now Galicki will dig after it as he bangs Roloff hard to the glass. But Minnesota-Duluth gets the puck down the ice. It'll be an icing against the Bulldogs. 6:04 to go, second period. Wildcats 3, Minnesota-Duluth 1.
Scott Berger and Berger again for Northern Michigan. Jago with the only Duluth goal of the hockey game. That came back at the 16:09 mark of the first period.
More time, it seemed like Dave Porter was out there for a long time. I'm sure he must have taken a breather or two, but he played some heavy-duty minutes.
Well, Porter's playing well. You know, he's a little bit disappointed that he hasn't been able to put the puck into the net. He's getting his chances, and as long as you keep getting your chances, sooner or later it's got to go in. Somebody made the comment to me that Porter said something about not being able to shoot the puck into Lake Superior, but somehow I think Dave could find that.
Doubtful whether I could, but
it's right out here to the left. So's the goal. Let's see if he can put one in.
Bulldogs won the draw as Lindbergh took it from Drake. Drake holds the stick of Lindbergh and then chases the puck down. They dig at it in the corner. Drake trying to pull it loose and pull away from Lindbergh at the same time. Drake still fighting for it, still controlling. Dallas Drake left it behind him. Galicki tries to keep it in. He did, but then cleared to the line. Warenka pushed it to the opposite corner. Ward digs after it, takes a slash. Eddie Ward and Galicki team up on Jago back there, and Drake in the corner gets tied up, and he can't get to the puck, and now Jago hauled down. He took a hook from Galicki, but no call forthcoming on that one. Over the line, Roloff almost lost his balance, left the puck along the boards. Played behind the net, Sandy Smith digging in after it. Smith falls down, or was knocked down by Drake, as Warenka feeds it up ahead. And Ed Ward will just dump it into the Bulldog zone as the Wildcats go for a line change.
Wildcat line of Drake, Galicki, and Ward playing the body rather effectively on that last shift.
Up the ice, Chris Miller dumped it into the Wildcat zone, but controlled by Podrasky and shot back out center ice. Plandowski digging after it, but Miller took it away. Now over on the right is Roloff again. He'll just dump it to the line. But Olsen right there to pick it off, up ahead to Lamarck. Lamarck has Antos out front, fed the pass across, but the puck off the ice, and Antos couldn't get his stick on it. Now the puck down along the boards as Lamarck puts a little extra oomph into that check on Roloff, who was on his knees.
Roloff just going down to cover up the puck to get a stoppage in play, and we look at him come off the ice. Roloff, a freshman, impressive-looking defenseman for the Bulldogs, 6 foot, 205 pounds from Grand Rapids, Minnesota. That man, the close-up there, is Chris Miller, a sophomore from Taconite, Minnesota. Got a lot of good camera shots this year, Ron, and while we have the opportunity, I'd like to kind of salute the camera crew with a job well done over the season.
Has been good. We've all had fun doing it this year. Wildcat fans getting up in arms as Willie up in the seats at the opposite end of the ice, stirring things up. Newer's shot went off a Bulldog. Antos chases into the corner. He checked Howard hard to the boards, but it's fed up ahead, and breaking out is Scott Keller. Poked right back into the Duluth zone. Now over on the right, it's Janaston with it. Janaston lifts a long shot that Pye gloves, and he'll hold on and force the faceoff in the Wildcat zone.
What got stirred up at the Wildcat end of the ice was the maroon loon down there clowning around with Wildcat Willie. And the loon went for a quick tumble down about 3 or 4 stairs, crashed into the glass, and that was the roar from the crowd.
Well, I missed that part of it. I saw Willie standing up and cheering, but I didn't see the loon go
He's on crutches over there now. I don't know if he get a shot of him or not. In behind the Cat goal. There he goes. You can see him right in the back of the picture there.
Oh, there he is. Yeah, he's on crutches, all right. He limps back up toward Willie, and the Wildcats and Bulldogs continue to battle it out on the ice. Play in the corner, dug away by Olsen, trying to pull away from Howard. Got some help from Podrasky, but the puck back in the near corner again. Now they tie it up one more time. Antos and Podrasky digging it, trying to dig it out. Olsen now kicks it ahead. Daryl Olsen tied up. Olsen still with it. Fires it up the right boards. Lamarck took a hit there from Baskey. Now Lamarck again. Feeds it over on the left. Klandowski up the left side. Left it behind him. Shot put toward the net as Erickson scooped it up off the ice with Lamarck cutting in on the right. And Daryl Olsen paid for that pass as he got nailed into the glass just as he let that pass go.
3:40 left, second period hockey action. Ron Plum and Tom McCord from Marquette's Lakeview Arena. And if the Wildcats can hold on for another 23 minutes and 40 seconds, they'll be picking up some tickets for St. Paul, Minnesota, and the WCHA Finals next Sunday and Monday at the St. Paul Arena.
And if the Wildcats could get by game one in that series, they might be going up against the Gophers one more time this year. They played them tough, beat them once here at Lakeview in overtime, lost 4-1 to Minnesota, and then lost a couple of tough games over in Minneapolis.
Tied one and lost one, a 2-2 tie and a 5-4 loss.
Beg your pardon?
Could have won either game.
Yeah, I forgot about the tie.
Pye just stood on his head that night. He had about, I think it was 50 saves that evening.
52 or 51,
yeah,
somewhere
it was
there. Good night's work, let's put it like that. Face off to the left of Chad Erickson.
Good week's work.
For most folks, yeah. Phil Brown digging in against Podine. Crowd wants the puck dropped, and it finally is. Lay loose there. Kevin Scott doing a good job of holding onto the stick and then dragged to the ice. It was the same man whose stick was old, Kevin Kaiser, and everything going right now. And then a good check by Garrow behind the glass took Jago out of the play. Ooh. That was dangerous as Scott was knocked down in the corner by a roll-off behind the play.
Looked like it hurt, too.
Well, there's some big hitting going on now as nothing being called, and the team's taking advantage of it. Here comes Brown, and Scott. Brown drills at the save. Scott's the rebound, and Erickson came up big again. Puck loose in the corner, and now they'll pile it up in front of the net. I think the whistle blew before the puck got swiped to the corner, and now they'll just go at it. It's a free-for-all out there as Phil Brown being banged on from behind by Jago. Warenka matching up with his number counterpart, Janastin, and Garrow toe-to-toe with Kevin Kaiser.
Well, they had Phil Brown quadruple teamed in front of the goal with sticks up in his face.
And the crowd wanting a referee. Well, you know the way things have been going, Tom, and again, I'm not criticizing the referee. He's been letting it go. But when you do that, the chances of something like this happening are infinitely greater, and it finally blew up into a minor war, and they'll whistle the penalties at 17:01.
Well, Christensen made the original call correctly. He lost sight of the puck. The puck ended up, it did turn out to be loose in behind Chad Erickson, but Erickson had already lost sight of the puck, so the initial call was a good one. What happened afterwards that he really had no control over right at that particular point.
Well, it's got to be double minor on Garrow. He's heading for the box, and also on Darren Noss.
Hockey team! Hey, Zach, go to their linesman and make sure that 17 goes off the ice.
Apparently, that's going to be the only penalty. It's hard to believe with all those bodies and pushing and shoving.
Wildcat penalty number 12 on Garrow. Each double minor for roughing. Time of the penalty is 17:01.
Only two penalties called, though. And
double roughing calls on Darren Noss and Doug Garrow. And they'll head to their respective locker rooms, and there's a hat we haven't seen for a while. So Wildcat supporter right in behind the Cat bench. I think Joe West used to wear one of those.
That wouldn't surprise me a bit.
Joe used to be rather fond of the cowboy hats.
I don't know. Somehow it just doesn't look quite right in green, Tom. Imagine wearing that out west Arizona. I'd wonder what planet you were from.
Well, that's just supporting your hockey team, Ron.
I'm not criticizing it. I'm just saying I wouldn't wear one in Arizona.
Somebody asked me tonight walking through the corridor here when I was going to get a number shaved in my head, and I said, well, I'll do it when Rick does it, meaning Rick Comley, and I think I'm safe there.
I think, yeah, probably till the end of the world even. Chris Lindbergh down the right side. Sends it down for Smith. Smith punched it to the near boards. Warenka gets there first, but can't clear it. Now they chase it again. Warenka took a shot from Lindbergh. Phil Berger pushed it out of the zone. Jacobson got spun around, but he'll chase it down. He's got Warenka out front. Warenka drew him out, but Erickson has saved the rebound. Backhanded just wide, right by Berger. Great save by the freshman, although Warenka didn't get it off the ice.
Waited a little bit too long that time.
Now back the other way. Lindbergh a drive, and he got the pike. Got the right goalpost, and you could hear that one ringing for several moments after it hit. 2:05 to play in the period. Giveaway out front. Berger tried to push it through traffic toward the net, but it was knocked down, and back comes Scott Keller over on the left for Andrzak. Andrzak falls down. John Good picks up the puck. Good. Left wing pass to the open wing. Warenka gets there first and chops at it, but doesn't get it anywhere. Then Kevin Scott puts it on net. Erickson the save. He'll leave it for Vasky. Down to 1:40 to go in the second period. Wildcats 3, the Bulldogs 1. A giveaway right out front. Lamarck lost it. He overskated, then got it back. Podrasky on the right point. Darrell Olson left side. He'll drive it toward the net through traffic, and Erickson the save. Now pushed behind the net by Lamarck to the far boards. He'll chase it. Vasky gets there first with 1:20 to go in period number 2. Cutting through traffic, Howard. He got by Podrasky. He's pulled down. He scores, or did he? The red light's on. And so the Bulldogs back to within 3-2, and Podrasky will have to serve the 2 minutes, but there will be no power play situation, much like...
Let's wait and see here. They're going to discuss this down there.
It looked like it was in. If we can get a replay, maybe we can see it. The red light did come on.
There's no doubt, Ron, the puck was in the net.
Maybe he's saying the puck came off the magnets before that happened. Let's see. He's pulled down. Nope, it's in. It's in. No doubt about it. Should be a 3-2 hockey game. Scoreboard still says 3-1.
And they are going to discuss it.
I don't know what the discussion is.
Either do I, but the worst thing that can happen is they can allow it, and if they're discussing it, maybe they're not going to allow it.
Christensen had the right arm up, even as Podrasky was pulling.
Now, I'll tell you, if they disallow the goal, Duluth is going to be upset.
Well, they're going to go a little nuts, I would think. I imagine Mike Surdich is wondering what they're discussing, too.
And I think they're going to talk to the goal judge. I believe that's who is over there now. The goal cage is empty in behind Bill Pye.
Well, I don't know. There's no, at least from the angle we had on the replay, that there was no doubt the puck was in the net. It went all the way to the back and came back out. I can't even imagine what they're talking about down there. Scoreboard still says 3-1. Let's take another look at it and see if we can pick it up. I'm not sure if we'll be able to see Christensen in the picture, raising his right arm. He's along the boards there. There's the hook, and actually a hold. You could have called it anything, but the puck was already in the net when it got knocked off the magnets, and they're still talking about it over there. It looks like from Duluth's reaction, the goal is going to count. Now they put it 3-2 up on the board. Well, the crowd booing, but I'd like to find out between periods maybe what the discussion was about.
Well, possibly maybe whether or not it went off the goal post. That's the only thing I can figure before it, crossed back. But, from the replay on the screen, it was a Duluth goal.
There should be a penalty to Podrasky. It is, as he's heading toward the penalty box. Time of the goal and the penalty will be at 18:45.
Bulldogs run right back in the hockey game. Howard gets credit for the goal. Baskey gets the only assist, and it's 3-2, and the Bulldogs are right back in this thing.
Dallas Drake will take the draw. One of the more visible freshmen on this Wildcat team, Tom. We'll talk with both Dallas Drake and Phil Sukharov between the second and third period, a couple of the freshman class. Cleared up ahead, Plant over the line, but lost the puck, and turning back is Drake. He'll take an elbow to the face. The Bulldogs clear it back in. John Good up ahead for Drake. Podrasky did get called for the hold, but again, he will not have to serve it because Minnesota-Duluth scored.
Well, he is serving the penalty, but it is not a power play situation, Ron.
Right.
We don't play shorthanded.
I knew what I meant.
I knew what you meant, too.
Galecki dumps it into the Duluth zone with 35 seconds to go in the second period, a one-goal hockey game. Now Jago taking his time. Still a minute and a half to go on the penalties to Garrow and Nass. Now Lindbergh moves it down the slot. Knocked to the ice. Wawrinka clears it to the boards, but not out. Or to the blue line, but not out. Drive deflected wide right by Plandowski off the stick of Roloff. And the Wildcats will lift it down the ice. There'll be an icing. And with 8 seconds to play, the Bulldogs had the face-off right where they want it, trailing just 3-2. The Wildcats in the lead here in the second period.
Well, give UMD credit, Ron. They've come back in this hockey game, much like they did playing Northern Michigan in the regular season. And they've battled back from 2-0 to 2-1, from 3-1 to 3-2. And the Wildcats have been unable to put the Bulldogs on ice this weekend to this point.
Also between the second and third period, we'll look at upcoming events on Channel 8. Actually, it should be singular in this case, upcoming event, but we'll take a look at it anyway. Lindbergh kicked the draw out to the blue line. Andrzak plays it there. Andrzak moves out, has to get a shot off quickly. He won't do it as the Wildcats clear the zone, and the buzzer sounds. And we played 40 minutes of hockey in the second playoff game in this best-of-3 series as tempers get up a little bit again. Each team with a goal here in the second. Berger's second of the game, is 24th of the year, giving the Cats a 3-1 lead. Then Howard came back at 18:45 to cut it to 3-2. That's where we are right now. We'll be back with more WCHA playoff action after sponsor identification.
WCHA first round playoff action on Channel 8 is brought to you by Avant Gardens Floral, your FTD florist for flowers and plants. 1621 Presque Isle, Marquette. EQ Muffler Shop, serving Marquette County in a family-owned related business for 52 years. 250 East Hampton. Ask about our delivery service at Mr. Donut, open 24 hours, 1301 South Front Street, Marquette. For cozy fireside dining, try the Portside Inn, voted NMU's best pizza, 239 West Washington Street, Marquette.
Coming up here on Channel 8, we'll have the annual charity event, the Pigs in Heat hockey game, the firefighters and the police force going at it on ice right here at Lakeview Arena. And the game will be played March 15th. Tickets just $1. It's for a great cause. All proceeds go to help fire victims in Marquette County. And I think they helped 33 people last year with that fund. And even if you're not going to go to Lakeview Arena to watch the game, go spend $1. It's for a great cause. And if you do or don't go, you can catch it all right here, March 20th at 7 o'clock in the evening. Pigs and Heat right here on Channel 8. 3-2, the Wildcats in the lead. We still have a period of hockey to go, maybe more. Who knows? So right now, let's take a break between the second and third period and talk to a couple of the freshman class of the Wildcats. How was your adjustment to the college game, and how has your growth been over the season from your eyes?
Well, coming up to college, like you say, as a defenseman, you can't, in junior, where I played, you can get away with being a little more offensive, and you can get caught and usually make up for it. But the caliber of hockey that we have here now, it's so, like, the players are a lot better, a lot stronger, and you really have to concentrate a lot on defense. And like Coach Comley and all the rest of the coaches have been, you know, trying to keep my mind on defense and defense. Like, they're letting me go, but, you know, I still have a lot to learn defensive-wise.
Was it easier than you expected it to be, or was it harder than you expected it to be?
On some aspects, when you start off well, you know, everything seems to be going all right. But you know, it's a lot harder than the junior was. You have to work a lot harder at it, and like overall, when you start, I don't know how to say it. You have to work at the little things a lot harder than what you did in junior, and it's, you know, you learn a lot of things.
I know coming in as a freshman, probably your focus is more on, I have to do well, I want to make the team, I want to play, more so than maybe how is the team going to do. But looking back at the beginning of the year, Phil, everybody picked this team to finish 7th, 8th place in this league. What were your expectations as a freshman, and how did they match up to what actually happened this year?
Well, like coming in this year, like you looked at the hockey news and we were always picked 7th, and you know, coming in, I wanted to do well for myself, and like the guys on the team, they're great, and everybody helps you along, so you don't feel like a freshman on the team. They treat you, everybody's pretty well equal, and I'm used to, like in a lot of other guys' team, they come from winning teams who have either been 1st or 2nd in their league, so you just come out here and you just play to the best you can, and you know, it just happens we played well this year, and the team's doing well.
What are some of the intangibles maybe that people don't see, the people in the stands don't see, that helped you develop this year?
You watch, well, I watch, like I'm a defenseman, so I don't watch many of the forwards. I watch a lot of the older guys, like the seniors on the team. They've helped me a lot. And when you come to the bench, whether you're down, like after a bad shift or whatever, you know, they're always saying, you know, don't worry about it and get out there and play this, and you can't worry about it, because then you get caught up in that, and then your game starts going downwards from there.
You know, I know a lot of the people, ourselves included, don't get to see what happens on the bench when you do come out the ice. So the coaches say things to you, good or bad. But was that different than maybe in the other levels of hockey you played, in the way that the coaches handle things when you do come to the bench?
Well, it's like at the beginning of the year and now that you come to the bench, and they're going to tell you whether you screwed up out there or whatever. But they also, like when you do a good play or make a good play, excuse me, they they tell you, good job out there, and then they try to correct what you've done wrong. In junior, you can get away with who's going to be playing and who's not going to be playing, and you can whether the coach says something or not, good or bad, you can kind of like let it go through one ear and out the other. This one, like this year in college, you have 7 or 8 guys that are sitting in the stands waiting to take your spot. So you have to go out there and perform, and whether he comes back to the bench, you let things go in one ear, and if it stays, it stays.
How was the adjustment for you stepping into this league, and you seem to pick it up pretty easy? Was it as easy as you made it look?
No, it wasn't easy at all. The first 5 to 10 games, I had a lot of trouble getting used to the speed and the difference in size of the players. They hit a lot harder, and they are a lot stronger. So first 10 games, I did find it difficult, and I didn't really, I wasn't outstanding the first 10 games. I didn't really start picking up till maybe the 12th game. After the Denver series, I felt a lot more confident.
Earlier in the year, your line with Eddie Ward and Jeff Galicki was going great guns. How much did it help you to have the 2 big guys on your line?
Really good. The type of guys who they can get wrapped up in a lot of stuff, and they like it if I help them out, by telling them to keep their temper down and that kind of stuff. But they help me out a lot too. They're in the corners banging away, and the puck's always coming loose, and it helps me to control the puck. And a lot of times the guys are worried. They're worried about the big guys, and it gives me a lot more time to do some stuff for the puck that I like to do.
There's a possibility, there's a certainty you're going to be in the running for Freshman of the Year in this league. Another pretty good freshman, Joseph, down at Wisconsin, stands a chance. Would that mean? I mean, obviously it'd be great for you, but are you really concerned with that?
No, not at all. I'm not concerned at all. I feel Joseph's, I got it wrapped up anyways. He's had like almost a Hobie Baker season, and I'm just concentrating on running, helping the team go as far as they want. It'd be a great honor to win it, but I haven't worried about it at all.
What about coming into the season, Dallas? I know that for a freshman, a lot of times you're concentrating on just playing well, making the team, and making sure you're going to get to play. What were your expectations at the start of the season for this team, and how did it turn out compared to what you expected?
The expectation for me coming in, basically, I came into the camp and I looked at all the centermen, and I was in shock, and like there's a lot of great players. I was just concentrating mainly on trying to play, And for the team, I heard that we had a lot of potential. You could tell from practice, and we just had to put it together for a team, and luckily enough we did. And I just like to, hopefully we'll just keep it going.
What about playing in this playoff series at home? Of course, this is your first year, but a lot of these players haven't ever got to play at Lakeview Arena before. Is it going to help, do you believe, the freshmen playing at home as opposed to maybe opening up on the road in the playoffs?
I think so. We play all as a team. We play so much better at home. This is confidence-wise, and it'll be great for all the players who haven't played at home in the playoffs yet. And last year, the team I played for, we had an excellent team, and we played so long into the spring. It'd be nice to keep playing this year, but to play at home is going to be great for the whole team.
What about, you've got to be excited looking into the future. You're losing 4 pretty good seniors this year, but you've got a real strong nucleus coming back, especially with some of the younger players yourself, Phil Sukaroff, Lou Malone. You got to be excited about the next few years.
Yeah, we are losing 2 excellent defense and 2 excellent forwards, and you know, we're going to lose a lot of goals and points, but I think we can come back next year and have just an excellent year like we did this year. We got a couple good freshmen out here coming in from the recruiting, and hopefully we'll all put it together next year and just have an excellent season again.
If you could maybe use one word, one phrase to sum up this year's team, what would it be?
The nucleus of our team this year had to be, it's hard to say, I guess, but just we were a team. We weren't individuals. And for example, is that when Denver came in here, I have a couple friends from Denver. We went out. I brought them out with us after, and you know, we were all out having to sing and good and have a time. And I guess they're not a team at all like that. They go there. Every team has their cliques, and we don't have our cliques at all. We're just one big team.
You're watching WCHA Hockey Playoffs on MCTV, Channel 8, a service of Bresnan Communications.
Well, still 20 minutes of hockey to go in this one, as the Wildcats lead the Bulldogs by just a goal, 3-2, as we get set for this final 20 minutes of action. 2 goals in that second period. Phil Berger the first. We apologize, but we do not have the replay on that one. John Good, the only assist on the play at 2:06. And the Wildcats led it at that point 3-1, but then Duluth got one back as Sean Howard scored, assisted by Baskey, and Howard just makes a power move to the goal as he cut right down the middle, Tom, being held onto by Pete Podrasky, who did everything he could, but could not stop the shot. And I think you're right, looking at that replay, it might have caught the post before it went in.
Well, you know, that last time we saw that right there, Ron, I think the puck actually went dead center into the goal and hit that center piece of metal coming down in the back of the net and came right back out. But it was no doubt a Duluth goal, and there we look at the shots on goal in the second period, and the Wildcats had the majority of them, 15-8. Goalie saves through 2 periods. Chad Erickson with 22 in the pipes for Minnesota-Duluth. Bill Pye making 18 for Northern Michigan.
Well, save for the Duluth players and their handful of fans that made the trip over to Marquette. There isn't anybody in this building that wants to go to a Game 3, but including you got a couple of days of paid skiing ready to go. But if we're working tomorrow night, you'll be right back here. And you know, it would be a shame if the Wildcats would not hold on to win this one, because, you know, in one game, it comes down to a game. Anything can happen in Game 3 as they use the fire extinguisher to, I guess that's a fire extinguisher, to patch up,
I think that is a CO2 cylinder.
Okay. Patching up probably what is a rather large hole behind the net. Packing it with snow and so forth.
Believe me, that CO2 is some cold stuff.
Well, let's just say I don't want it sprayed in my face and leave it at that. Through 2 periods, the Wildcats have outshot Duluth 25-20. Duluth with the edge in the first period, 12-10, but Northern Michigan almost doubling the Duluth output in the second period, yet each team wound up with 1 goal.
Well, Northern Michigan's going to need some crowd support here in the third period from the Lakeview Partisans. And they might be able to make the difference in this hockey game as we look at Wildcat Willie signing autographs. And I'll tell you, Ron, everybody's going to miss Wildcat Willie around Lakeview Arena. He's done just a super job, as we've said over and over, as the years have gone by.
going to be a tough act to follow, but I'm sure the new one, whoever it turns out to be, will have his or her own personality to add to that character. Rick Comley and the Wildcat players on the bench getting ready to go into this third period. Willie Mitchell on your far right.
That man behind the Wildcat bench, Rick Comley, has our vote as WCHA Coach of the Year, and it wouldn't surprise me, Ron Plum, if he is awarded that honor after the season's over.
Well, I'm sure you can make arguments for a couple of other people, but when you consider the fact that by consensus of the league, the Wildcats were picked to finish 7th in the WCHA this year, I don't see how you can possibly argue against it.
Well, I think we're going to be keeping the award in Upper Michigan, as Herb Boxer from Michigan Tech got it last year.
There you see the hockey banquet details again coming up Monday night, March 13th at the University Center in the Great Lakes Room. Always great food, cash bar at 6 o'clock, dinner at 7. And by that time, you'll be ready to sit back and relax and watch as the awards are handed out as the program begins at 8 o'clock. Tickets on sale now at the cashier's office. Vangos in the Golden Wildcat Club. Adults, $10. Children under 12, $7.50, and always a good time at that.
Hopefully, Ron, that hockey banquet will be the kickoff of a quarterfinal week if Northern Michigan continues to win and play well.
Of course, the possibility exists, depending on what happens this weekend, the remainder of this weekend, and at the WCHA Final Four, that we may be back here at Lakeview Arena for an NCAA game in a couple of weeks or so.
Well, that's possible, and it's also possible, depending on what happens in the CCHA, something interesting might happen, like a rematch with Lake Superior State, which is a possibility somewhere down the line.
Who was it? Lake State played, I don't know if it was, must have been last weekend. They beat somebody, and somebody else was claiming they were the dirtiest team in the CCHA, holding and grabbing and so forth.
Well, the Wildcats have experienced the Lakers 3 times this year. And I think it's a consensus of most of the guys on the team that that's one team that they would like to meet and beat. They could have very possibly won all 3 games. As it turned out, they won 1 and lost 2 against the defending NC2A champs.
Including a game here at Lakeview that probably they should not have lost. They lost the lead in the 3rd period and wound up getting beaten overtime here. Well, they got a different canister out there now. That's got to be some hole.
Hopefully everybody got their pop before that gentleman came on the ice.
A little water, a little smoothing over with a puck, and we'll see if it'll work.
Of course, I guess they use the old CO2 to push a lot of things here at Lakeview Arena.
20 minutes of hockey yet to be played as the Northern Sound Machine entertains the crowd.
And I think the Sound Machine has the right song there, too, for the CO2.
Still a minute 1 to go on the penalties to Doug Garrow. And also Darren Mast. They were whistled down at the 17:01 mark for a double minor. Pete Podrasky will not be able to hit the ice for 45 seconds in his 3rd period, as he was whistled off at 18:45. Not a power play, though, for Duluth, as that was on the goal that Howard scored at 18:45 from Baskey. They're still doing repair work on that hole back of the Wildcat net. You get a look at Sean Howard with the face gear up over in front of the Duluth bench.
Howard, a 5'11" sophomore from Anchorage, Alaska. I guess it's a little warmer out that way these days.
Well, when you go to 80 below, Tom, you can't do much but get warmer.
If only this gentleman knew.
Well, they're still working on that ice patch. Zamboni, I guess, must have chewed a pretty big hole in it on the way by. Brad Warenka surveying the work being done, as are the rest of the Wildcats gathered around the goal.
May have to call out for a refill here.
Would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the Northern Michigan University men's basketball team, who finally won a game below the bridge today, beating Wayne State on the road. First time they've won below the bridge, I think. It's been at least 5 seasons, might be 6. They did not do it the entire time that Billy Harris played here.
We did something like 18 or 19 straight games, somewhere in that neighborhood.
It was a bunch. Beat Wayne State by a point, and the Lady Wildcats finishing off an excellent season at 24-3. And now we're finally ready to go for the third period here. And here with the play-by-play is Tom McCord.
Thanks, Ron Flom. Dean Antos moves in to meet Chris Lindberg, and the third period is underway. Wildcats lead by a goal. They have 19 minutes and 55 seconds remaining in regulation time. We will play overtime if necessary this evening. Brad Warenka circles back into his own zone. Both teams skating four-a-side here at the opening of the third period. Puck back into the zone off the stick of Baskey. Plandowski tries to charge on. Right on rebound. Score! Antos!
What a great job by Daryl Plandowski, Tom, as he was being literally held, and he still managed to put the puck on the net. The rebound came out high, and Antos right in front of Chad Erickson. Erickson had no chance whatsoever on the rebound shot. Dean Antos with his 24th goal of the season.
23 seconds into the third period, and Antos gives Northern Michigan back the 2-goal lead at 4-2. And Baskey is going to pick up a minor penalty. Baskey picks up a minor penalty. He will not cause his team to be shorthanded, however. There was a delayed penalty coming up as the Wildcats scored. Jago from the faceoff. His pass is picked off by Plandowski in center ice, back and over the line for Antos. Antos leaves it in the circle. No one there for Northern Michigan, and back through center ice comes Duluth and Podine. A long shot, and Pye blocks that. Rebound, loose puck. And Pye has it between the pads. Shoveling it right in there was Kevin Kaiser. Dangerous opportunity for the Bulldogs.
Well, just seconds after the Wildcats make it a 4-2 hockey game, Duluth comes close at the other end. Antos with his 24th goal of the season, his first on the weekend, and that matches him with Phil Berger for the most goals by a Wildcat. Berger has picked up a pair of them tonight. Plandowski and Good drawing the assists at the 23-second mark. At the same time, Baskey was called for that hold on Plandowski. And again, not a power play opportunity, but Baskey has to sit out the 2.
Antos and Berger have been jockeying back and forth over the last 3 or 4 weeks for the goal leadership honors of the Wildcats. Right now, it's probably kind of fitting that they're dead even in the final home game, possibly.
That was a big goal, too,
of the season.
That puts Duluth in the hole again.
Got him down early here in the third. Bulldogs control the faceoff. Kaiser in behind the goal, tied up by Olson. Podrasky comes away with it. Center ice pass, a little bit too far for Phil Brown. Coming back in over the line is John Roloff. Both teams at full strength. Podrasky clears around far side boards. Kevin Scott tries to dump it forward. Second effort, gets it out of the zone through center ice. Nice move around the outside. Scott to Garrow behind him as Garrow was cutting through the crease. Back in behind the Duluth goal. Roloff clears it around the boards. Darren Noss has it. Noss being hooked a little bit, turns away and comes back through center ice for MD. Noss to the Wildcat blue line, clears it down in behind the Cat goal. Darrell Olson will be the first person there for Northern Michigan. Will skate it out of his own zone. Backing over the Bulldog line. Scott a shot, and that gets knocked down. Long lead pass up ice. Coming down in a hurry is Scott Keller. A long shot, and that just missed by about a half a foot. Jacobson has it poked away. Keller in the near side corner takes it. Olson intercepts, though, and clears it out of the zone for Berger off his stick. Back at his own blue line, Jan Austin. Across to Miller, back to Jan Austin. Wildcats on the early third period goal by Antos have their 2-goal lead back at 4-2. Miller and Porter meet in the far side corner. Keller fails to get it out. Warenka clears back down. Little centering pass, a little bit behind Jacobson. Back through center ice come the Bulldogs, but Berger intercepts. Clears it right back into the MD zone. Miller bodied off the puck by Porter. Bulldogs try and clear it up the center zone. Can't do so. Berger winds up for a shot. That gets deflected by Chumala. Chumala seems to be favoring that leg a little bit here, Ron, early in the third period.
In fact, it is bothering him a little bit. Both teams, by the way, back at full strength as the penalties expired about a minute and a half ago.
John Good will start it off again for Northern Michigan. Clearing pass up for Ward. Takes a bump there. Clears down into the Duluth zone. Around in behind his own goal. Trying to get out of the zone is Andrusak. Andrusak on the seat of his pants gets it to the center red line, but Warenka takes it across to Podrasky in the Wildcat zone. Center ice pass for Drake through his skates all the way down the ice. Icing the call on Northern Michigan. 16:44 left, regulation time. Cats by a pair at 4-2.
Passing around some scores from Game 2 of the other playoff series taking place tonight. North Dakota beat Denver 7-1 in Game 1 of their set this afternoon. Tech on top of Wisconsin after 1-0. Minnesota 5, Colorado College 1. And I kind of suspected that might happen tonight after a 5-4 game last night.
It looks like the Gophers will be advancing as Ed Ward moves up into the Duluth zone. Bulldogs will take a look. Coming out of his own zone, Vasky. Center ice pass intercepted by Galicki. Right back in over the Minnesota line. Clearing in behind the goal, Dallas Drake centering pass, and that's intercepted nicely. Skating it out will be Darren Amundsen. Center ice pass. Down in over the Wildcat line, a little bit too far for the Duluth player. And Galicki will pick it up in the far side corner. Fails to get it out the first time. Second effort does so. Back to center ice. Roloff clears it. Olson has it. Long pass up ice. That's a little bit too far for the Cat winger, and Terrell comes back. Podrasky played a little ragtag here early in the third period. Plandowski up the left side. Garrow near side corner. Centering pass, and that just went a little bit wide off the stick of Antos. Sandy Smith back through center ice. Clears it into the Wildcat zone. Bill Pyle direct that around the near side boards. Held in at the blue line by Jago. Centering attempt knocked down by Antos. Cleared by John Good back to center ice. Plandowski upended, as is Antos, and Jago will clear it back into the Northern Michigan zone. Smith can't control it. Cleared back down the ice by Northern Michigan. It'll be another icing call on the Wildcats.
Just under 15 minutes to play in this hockey game, or in regulation. 4-2, the Wildcats lead it. A victory moves the Wildcats into the Final Four. First time ever the Cats would have been past the first round of the WCHA playoffs. A Duluth victory, if they can regroup and get it back, would push this series to a Game 3. And if there is a Game 3, you'd see it right here on Channel 8.
And once again, if the Wildcats do win the playoff series this weekend, they do have the opening game in St. Paul next Sunday afternoon. Center ice pass for Phil Brown. He chops it down into the Duluth zone. Erickson's going to hold on to that and finally give it up. Bulldogs with Chumala start out of their own zone. Howard through center ice. He had the last Duluth goal. Howard puts on the brakes inside the Northern Michigan line. Back to the blue line and out over the stick of Pat Jan Austin. He clears it back in, delayed offside on Duluth. Center ice pass through the skates of Brown. Cleared right back into the Northern Michigan zone. Heading for the bench is Chris Miller. He caught a stick around the midsection area. Centering pass. Chumala tries a little nifty move there and has it knocked away by the Northern Michigan defense, and Chumala is just laboring out there. Thrown back into the Duluth zone. In behind his own goal, Andrusak. Porter almost intercepted. Loose puck into the center ice zone. Trying to come away with it, but failing to do so. The Duluth player Kaiser cleared right back into the zone by Berger. 13:50 left, regulation time. Northern Michigan with the 2-goal lead. Berger with the loose puck in behind the goal. Pulls up. Tries a centering pass, and Porter smashed down to the ice. Into the far side corner. Podine clears the zone back to center ice. Northern Michigan clears it. Vasky dumps it back into the neutral zone. On the backhand is Kaiser, being tied up by Jacobson. Kaiser knocks it down into the Northern Michigan zone. Galicki first person back for NMU. Long pass up ice. That misses everyone. Another icing call on Northern Michigan.
Well, besides the clock working against the Bulldogs right now, Tom, they also got a few years working against them, as they have not won in this building in the past 9 tries. Wildcats with a 4-2 lead right now. 13-12 to go, period number 3.
Like we said last night, Ron, the Cats glad the playoff series is here, as Duluth has returned the favor in their building about the same length of time. Drake, Galicki, and Ward for Northern Michigan. Bulldogs control the face-off. A long shot skips through from the stick of Roloff, knocked away. Blue line, Jago a drive, and Pye is down on top of that, as digging for the puck in front is Wayne Sager, but Pye has it covered up.
The Bulldogs with a couple of shots on net. Billy Pye controlled the rebound enough, as Tom said. Wayne Sager out there digging away at it, trying to pull it out and put it past them. But the lead remains 2 for the Wildcats. 2 goals by Phil Berger tonight, 1 each by Kevin Scott and Dean Antos.
Darren Amundsen, the hometowner from Duluth, Minnesota, will take the face-off for MDU. Facing Dean Antos, it's Amundsen, Stu Plant, and Wayne Sager for Mike Sertich's Bulldogs. Play loose in the face-off circle. Jago clears it across. Roll off a blast, he scores!
Well, he just wound up in, as you said, a blast, Tom, and just drilled it past Bill Pye, who made the move belated with the catching glove. It was by him into the short side in the upper shelf, and it's a 4-3 hockey game as the Bulldogs come back one more time. This goal coming at 7:04.
For the freshman Roloff, his first WCHA goal. Good time to get it for Mr. Roloff.
Assisted by Jago and also Amundsen at 7:04, and it's a 4-3 hockey game.
Duluth right back into the Northern Michigan zone. Another blast. This one by Jago gets deflected out front of the goal. Loose puck deep in Northern Michigan territory. Cats a step behind right now. Antos knocks Sager into the corner. Comes up once again with the stick. Bulldogs control that loose puck. Amundsen dumps it down for Plot. Plot a shot. That goes wide. Brad Warenka just dumps it back out the center ice. Roloff clears it right back in, delayed offside on Duluth. Bulldogs touch up, and John Good starts out. A pass for Plandowski way too far, and John Austin has it at his own blue line. Turning with it is Lindbergh. Lindbergh back to Jan Austin through center ice. Long clearing shot into the Northern Michigan zone. Lindbergh, first person there for Duluth, tied up by Garrow. Brown, though, gets it back to center ice. Pile up right in front of the Duluth bench. Brown and Garrow getting worked over a bit right at center ice. Pye out of his goal with 11:40 left, regulation time. Northern Michigan lead back down to 1 at 4-3. Long shot deflected away off the stick of Jan Austin. Podrasky clears for Warenka. Duluth has battled back well after that 4th Northern Michigan goal. Got themselves right back in a hockey game again. Here's Warenka. Drop pass. Scott. Quick shot. That never got through. Bulldogs right back through center ice. Sean Howard. Backing over the line is Lindbergh. Off to Howard. Howard gets it back to the blue line. This is Vasky, a shot, and that missed. Pye never saw it. Vasky again pinches in. Podrasky gets it up the near side boards to Garrow, and he's just going to clear it down the ice, and yet another icing call on Northern Michigan with 10:52 left in regulation time.
4-3, the Wildcats lead it, and as far as the Bulldogs are concerned, Tom, Roloff could not have picked a better time, John Roloff, to get his first goal of the season. It's a big one as far as the Duluth is concerned. Cut it to 4-3. That's where we are now. As Tom said, 10:52 yet to play.
I'd say around about the last 3.5 minutes have been all Minnesota-Duluth.
Well, pretty close to it. Wildcats maybe going into a shell a little bit. 2-goal lead is not enough to sit on.
Jerry Chumala gutting it out for Minnesota-Duluth, injured earlier in a hockey game. Visibly impaired skating-wise as that puck goes up over the glass and into the crowd.
Golfed up into the crowd, but you know, if you're Duluth, Tom, and I'm sure Chumala says the same thing, why not get out there? He's got a season to heal up. If the Bulldogs don't win tonight, he's got until next fall to rest.
Vasky from the face-off, center red line, throws it to the Northern Michigan line. Olsen intercepts, turning with the puck goes Sean Howard. Howard a long shot, that just missed. About a foot wide, and Olsen has the rebound. Into the corner, Sean Howard will be the first person there. Loose puck, and it comes right out to Bill Pye, and he grabs it and hangs on.
Well, very definitely the Bulldogs carrying the play in the last few minutes, and I'll guarantee you one thing, Tom, if the play continues like this, Duluth will get at least a tie before this hockey game is over.
I would concur 100%.
Unless, of course, Billy Pye turns in a half a period like we've seen him do in the past, sometimes for entire hockey games.
Sean Podine, centering freshman Kevin Kaiser, sophomore Darren Noss. Noss from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Of course, Saskatoon made famous by one of hockey's best players ever.
I thought it was made famous by the Guess Who. Wasn't that the name of the town in their song? Going back to Saskatoon or something like that?
I don't know.
It's an old song.
Actually, I was thinking of Gordie Howe, but he's from Floral out that way, I believe.
I don't know. I just know he played for about half a century.
Northern Michigan controls this face-off, where Renke just dumps it down to the Minnesota-Duluth line. John Roloff in behind his own goal, dumps it back for Jago. Jago almost gave it up. Gaining control, though, Dallas Drake clears it back in behind the goal. This is Ed Ward. Ward kicks it along the dasher board with his feet, tied up by Drake and Roloff. And the face-off will stay off to the right side of Chad Erickson.
It's been a game of shifting momentum, I guess you'd say. The Wildcats out to a quick 2-0 lead in the first period. Duluth got back in it. Then Phil Berger put the Wildcats up 3-1 late in the period, even though the Wildcats doubled the output of shots in that second period by Duluth. Sean Howard got him back in the game late in that second period at 3-2. Wildcats went up 4-2 on Antos' goal at 23 seconds of this third period, but for the last several minutes, Duluth has been all over the Cats, and Roloff's first goal of the season made the score what it is now, 4-3 Northern Michigan.
Lindbergh beats Antos on the face-off this time. Jan Austin in behind his own goal. Pass held in at the blue line by Plandowski. He flips a shot towards the goal, and that's knocked away by Erickson. Jan Austin will start it off once again. Center ice pass, Lindbergh. Lindbergh upended. Nice check there by Darrell Olsen at the Wildcat line. Held in, though, by Jan Austin. In behind the goal, this is Terrell. Terrell being bothered there by Pete Podrasky. Lindbergh with the loose puck, being hooked down by Antos. Loose puck side of the goal. Terrell had it momentarily knocked away by the defense. And Olsen will pick it up in behind his own goal. Clearing pass, fails to get out. A quick shot, and Pye had to be alert on that one. Lamarck chops it back to the blue line, skips past Miller, and here comes Antos for Northern Michigan. Antos back in over the line. Off for Plandowski, a quick shot. That one off the side of the goal. Battling for it in behind the goal, Plandowski. tied up there by Doug Terrell, and they'll finally whistle it down. Face-off will remain in the Duluth end.
I'd be real surprised, Tom, in the final 8:53 of this third period, unless it's blatantly obvious whether we're going to see any more power play opportunities for either team. We might see some matching penalties, but I seriously doubt, like I said, unless it's so obvious you can't avoid calling it, that we'll see any more power plays.
Lewandowski goes off the ice with his 6 goals on the season.
That was Darrell coming to life.
Wildcats from the face-off. Garrow clears in behind the Duluth cage. Double crunch on the far side as Scott and Brown step into their man. Bulldogs clear it back out into center ice. Cross ice pass. John Good falls down. Gets up though, and nice back checking by Phil Brown knocks the puck away. Pass for Kevin Scott a little too far, and back into his own zone goes Dennis Vasky. Vasky turns right in front of his own goal. Pass up, and I don't know if Amundsen stepped on that puck or not. And we've got a penalty coming up on the play.
He called it on the Wildcats, and they're going to send them both off. Garrow and I lost my sheet for a minute. Plant head off. I think slashing calls on both. 11:38 the time of the penalties. So they'll skate 4 players aside.
Little editorial comment by Wildcat Willie. I'm not sure if Amundsen stepped on that puck, but he went for a tumble just inside his own blue line. We'll skate 4-on-4 for the next 2 minutes of play. Jacobson, Berger, Warenka, and John Good for Northern Michigan. Wildcats control the face-off. Good shot deflected away. Battle going on along the near side boards. Coming away with it will be Chris Lindberg. His clearing pass a little too far. Cleared across ice by Warenka to John Good. Center ice to Berger. Back into the Wildcat zone. John Good will try it once again. Good just throws it back to the Duluth blue line. This is Vasky. Up for Lindberg in over the line. Berger steps in to chop that back out to center ice. Cleared right back into the NMU zone. Pye clears it for Brad Warenka. Warenka across in front of his own goal. Berger has to step in. Being bothered down low by Noss. Noss comes away with a puck, centering pass. Vasky's shot. No, that just missed. It went up over the top of the goal. Jacobson comes back for Northern Michigan. Catch 3-on-2. Jacobson up to the Duluth line. Drop pass Berger. Berger fans on the return pass. Loose puck off to the side of the goal. And Berger takes it away. Top of the circle. Back to Podrasky on the blue line. He'll dump it down for Jacobson. Jacobson from the side off the skate of Lindberg. Troy again. Centering pass right out front of the goal. And Vasky breaks that up and clears back to center ice. Under 7 minutes to play, regulation time. Brad Warenka comes back in. Warenka inside the Duluth line. Clears down for Berger. Berger from the side. Centering pass. Score! Jacobson!
Oh, what a great tip by Troy Jacobson as Berger was parallel with that goal line, Tom. And that's a tough play as Berger just shot it out front. And he had some mustard on it. Troy got his stick down and deflected it in at 13-10. And the Wildcats lead it 5-3. Big, big goal.
Here it is on the replay as Berger whips it right across the crease. And Troy Jacobson gets his 9th goal of the season.
Phil Berger and Brad Warenka pick up the assists, and the Wildcats again with a 2-goal lead, a huge goal for the Cats.
Olsen back through center ice. Back in over the Duluth line, a long shot. That sails high off the glass. Antos pinches down low, tries to take it away, can't do so. Cleared around in behind the goal for Roloff. Roloff over skates it. Puck cleared back along the far side boards, back into the Northern Michigan zone. Let's see if that goal by Jacobson can close out the Bulldogs, or if the Bulldogs can battle back as they have all night. Lamarck near side corner. Lamarck in behind the goal, a centering pass, and that's intercepted by Stu Plott. Plott back out through center ice. Off to Sandy Smith. Smith knocked down inside the Wildcat blue line. Good effort that time by Pete Podrasky. Landowski, a pass looking for Lamarck into the Duluth zone. Lamarck still charging after it. On his stomach, can't control, and Chris Miller clears it back out. 5:50 left regulation time. Wildcats have their 2-goal lead back at 5-3. Loose puck right to the front of the goal, and Chris Miller has it. Miller has played a strong game defensively for Minnesota-Duluth. Jan Austin. Wildcats pinching down low, centering pass from Ward. Dallas Drake battling for the puck. Galicki comes in, can't check his man. Puck cleared back into the Northern Michigan zone where John Good goes after it. Good puts on the brakes right to the side of Bill Pye. Starts off Ed Ward in center ice, too far for Ed. Cleared right back into the zone by Vasky. Brad Warenka. Clearing pass for Galicki, knocked back into the zone. Bulldogs forechecking well as Amundsen knocked it in behind the net. Pinching in is Vasky, and that puck is up over the glass and into the crowd. 5:01 left, Wildcats 5, Bulldogs 3.
Crowd giving a big cheer as they announce that men's basketball score from downstate today. And again, the Lady Wildcats completing the most successful season ever by a Lady Wildcat team. 24-3. What a great year they had. They should be in the playoffs.
You know, I had the opportunity to see Mike Geary's club in action last weekend in the final regular season game at home, and came away favorably impressed.
Wait till you see it next year and the year after. They got such a young team yet.
Puck down into the near side corner. Loose puck to the side of the Northern Michigan net. Amundsen digs after it, back onto the blue line, over Vasky's stick and back into the Duluth end. Digging after it as Kevin Scott can't get there. Back and over the line comes Stu Plott. Plott pulls up, big drive, and Pye gets a blocker on that. Brown swoops in to pick up the rebound and gets the clearing pass back out to center ice. 4.5 left, regulation time. Olsen picks it up and clears it off the glass into the Bulldog zone. Phil Brown digging after it. Bumped off the play by the Duluth defenseman Andrusak, and the Bulldogs right back into the Northern Michigan zone. Pye knocks that down for Warenka. Clearing pass back out to the center red line. Berger interfered with a little bit. Loose puck right in front of the goal. Jacobson tries to come away, can't do so. Roloff has it poked away from him by Kevin Scott. And the Bulldogs clear it right back in. Northern Michigan, 3 minutes and 40 seconds away from a trip to St. Paul in the WCHA finals. Intercepted by Berger, knocked back to the red line. Lindbergh serves it right back into the Northern Michigan zone, and the puck was knocked down by a high stick. The face-off will stay back in the Duluth end.
Northern Michigan looks like they're going to continue what has been their most successful season ever in the WCHA.
And their most successful season, regardless of what league, in several years.
It's been a while.
It's been fun.
Well, maybe next year will be just as fun, of course. That's some months away.
Face-off off to the right side of Chad Erickson. Face-off, a long shot that just missed by Podrasky. Held in by Plandowski, a drive, and that missed everything. Lamarck will hold it on the near side boards. Eric Lamarck in behind the goal, centering pass, and Olsen missed on the one time. Puck comes back into the Northern Michigan zone. Clearing pass up and over the line for Antos. Cross ice. Plandowski right in, and Erickson makes the save. Plandowski made a bid to finish it off, and Erickson said no. Back through center ice comes Chris Miller. Miller picks it up again, clears it into the Wildcat zone. 2:55 to play.
Erickson, Tom, looking toward the bench, wondering when they want him to come over there.
Centering pass out in the high slot. Eric Lamarck intercepts, clears for Plandowski back into the Duluth end. Andrusak turns in his own zone. Wildcats caught momentarily in a line change, have to hustle back into their own end. Warenka clears it around the boards. John Good off to Jeff Galicki. Center ice for Dallas Drake. Drake tries a little fancy move, gets wrestled down to the ice. Galicki gets stepped into, play loose. Ed Ward has it, far side corner. Centering pass for Galicki never got through. Back comes Darren Noss. Erickson out of the goal, and the play whistled down offside at the Northern Michigan blue line, and now Erickson will head back.
Well, he was waiting for the moment, and finally Duluth worked it up ice, and Erickson went racing to the bench, but again, the play offside, and they'll bring it back over the Cat blue line. Just 2:15 to play in this one. Northern Michigan just 135 seconds away from St. Paul.
While we've got the time, Ron, with 2:15 to play, I'd just like to say it's been my pleasure working with you once again doing Wildcat hockey this season. It's been a fun year.
Well, it's always more fun when you're winning, no matter who you are, whether you're down on the ice playing, coaching, or whether you're working on the crew here, and it has indeed been fun, Tom. Always a pleasure to work with you, and I'd like to say thanks to the entire Channel 8 crew.
Got that right. They've all done a super job all year long.
Great job.
Scott tries to chop it back into the Duluth end. We're down to the 2-minute mark left to play. Regulation time. Cats by a pair at 4, make it 5-3. Still battling for that puck deep in the Duluth zone. Jago gives a blind pass out, but gets lucky and gets it right back. And Jago will try it once again, and Erickson heads for the Duluth bench. Heads back, though, as the puck's chopped right back into the zone by Warenka. 1:35 left. Lakeview Arena crowd starting to cheer a little bit louder. Down to 1.5 to play. Bulldogs have been unable to get Erickson out of the goal so far. Loose puck back into the Northern Michigan zone. Erickson out of the goal once again. John Good has the loose puck. Good throws a long pass up ice, and that'll be an icing call if it goes far enough, and it will. Face off with 1:14 left, regulation time, back into the Wildcat zone.
Well, Duluth pulling its goaltender several seconds ago with 1:14 to play. The face-off where they want it. It'll be in the circle to the right of Bill Pye. The Wildcats have just done a great job over the last 2.5 minutes, Tom, keeping Duluth out of the Wildcat zone. They've just kept Duluth bottled up in their own end. And I think Duluth is going to take a timeout. The players head over to the bench as Mike Sertich will plot the strategy for the Bulldogs.
Well, the Wildcats, Ron, as you pointed out, have forechecked awfully well in the last few minutes in the Duluth zone. And when the Bulldogs have gotten out, Northern Michigan set up 4 across at the Northern Michigan blue line and have effectively kept the Bulldogs from getting the puck into the Northern Michigan zone. They tried pulling their goalie for better than a minute.
Much better defensive effort tonight, Tom, to be sure. The 2 of the 3 Bulldog goals have come from slap shots out near the blue line. And the other one, minor breakdown when Sean Howard put on a burst of speed and worked his way by Pete Podrasky, who did his best to haul him down. But other than that, the Wildcats have tightened it up much more defensively tonight.
I'm not even sure, Ron, if that goal by Roloff from the blue line would qualify as a slap shot. I'd say more of a rocket or a cannon or
something like that.
That got in there in a big hurry.
Yeah, it did. Blink, and it was in the net. Billy Pye reached for it, but it was already by him.
Northern Michigan sound machine trying to pick up a chant of St. Paul.
See if this Lakeview Arena crowd gets on its feet for the final countdown once we get down to about 30, 20, 10 seconds or so. They ought to be. Duluth will set it up with Chamola, Baskey, and Smith, along with Lindbergh, back on the points. It'll be Jago.
Antos, Northern Michigan's most proficient face-off man. Wildcats control this one. Play whistle down, though, as the puck wasn't dropped fairly. Perhaps we had players in the circle. We lost a second on the clock, though. 1:13 left. Regulation time.
Darren Noss, the other man, back on the point, along with Jago. Same lineup out there as they get set to do it again.
I tell you, in the face-off circle, Ron, you've got 2 of arguably the best sophomores in the WCHA, and number 7, Chris Lindberg, and number 14, Dean Antos.
I don't find any arguments for me.
Lindberg, I feel, has been one of the best Duluth players on the ice this weekend. Jago from the blue line, his shot blocked by Lamarck. Centering pass got deflected out front of the goal, and Bill Pye has that.
Had actually a blind deflection. It went off the stick of Chris Lindberg, who was turning around, didn't really know he was going to deflect it. It just went off his stick. Billy Pye snatched it out of the air, and he'll hold on with 1:07 to go in this hockey game. Northern Michigan leading at 5-3 as Rick Comley lets his troops know what he wants done.
Landowski will take the face-off this time against Lindberg. Landowski, Lamarck, John Good, Brad Wawrinka, and Dean Antos in front of goaltender Bill Pye. Puck loose in the circle. Landowski. And the puck cleared out through center ice by Eric Lamarck. Jago back at his own blue line. Under a minute to play in the hockey game. Lindberg circles through center ice. Play cleared down in and offside at the blue line as Baskey. He had one skate just barely over that blue line.
There's 52 seconds to go, and Erickson will remain out of the net for UMD. They have nothing to lose now, even though the faceoff is up near center ice. The Duluth goal is empty for this final 52 seconds.
Wildcat fans run on their feet for a standing ovation for Northern Michigan. Well deserved. And a send-off for the Wildcats to St. Paul, Minnesota. Antos and Lindberg on the face-off. Olsen's clearing pass a little too far for Plandowski. Puck cleared back into the Northern Michigan zone. John Good after it with 45 seconds left in regulation. Puck cleared along the near side boards. Up for Lamarck. Lamarck cross ice and play whistled down at a hand pass is the ruling from referee Buzz Christensen, and 37 seconds remain.
Well, Christensen quick to make that call. Good thing for Duluth, because Daryl Plandowski would have had an easy time in scoring the goal if Lamarck could have gotten him the puck, which looked like he was going to do.
Wildcats remain with the same group of 5 in front of Bill Pye. Lindberg centering Noss. And Chumala.
Daryl Olsen taking a little hack at Baskey as Olsen sneaking into the circle. Didn't like the way Baskey was treating him.
Landowski and Lindberg. Cats lead 5-3. Jago from the blue line, and that one off the skate of Lamarck. Centering attempt back to Jago, knocked away. Here comes Plandowski. Plandowski up the right side, got an open goal, gonna cut for the net, can score! And that'll do it.
The Wildcats are on their way to St. Paul as they lead this game now 6-3 with 25 seconds to play.
There's also going to be a Duluth penalty, Ron, I believe, on a slash, and that'll be the same time as the goal at 19:35.
It'll be Jago for the slash. It'll be an unassisted goal for Daryl Plandowski, his 7th of the season. And the Wildcats with a 3-goal margin as they wind it down on the road to St. Paul. Make that number 7 for Daryl Plandowski. Erickson back in the Duluth net.
That's the 3rd unassisted Wildcat goal of the weekend. Well, this one's in the bag. We'll see you in St. Paul next Sunday afternoon as the Wildcats will be meeting, as of yet, an undetermined opponent It'll be Wisconsin if Wisconsin beats Michigan Tech.
And if Tech should go on to win that series, it would be either North Dakota or Denver.
Yep. Play offside at the Duluth blue line.
I don't know. Personally, I'd like another shot at Wisconsin, Tom. I think that'd be a great battle.
Well, it would be. It's been a good series all year long.
There would definitely be easier teams to play than Wisconsin, believe me. But, hey, if you're going to do it, you might as well do it against the tough ones.
Be a good goaltending matchup. Bill Pye and Curtis Joseph. Puck to Wawrinka in center ice. 10 seconds left in the hockey game. Wildcats are going to win this one 6-3. Play loose deep in the Minnesota-Duluth zone. Clearing pass up the boards for Wayne Sager. Back to Wawrinka. The hockey game is over. And the Wildcats have won the first round of the WCHA playoffs, sweeping Minnesota-Duluth in 2 straight games. Last night 7-2, and tonight by a final score of 6-3. And the Wildcat fans, Ron, are on their feet.
As they should be. This team has performed so well at Lakeview Arena here all year long. 17 wins, 4 defeats, and 1 tie. They'll line it up and shake hands as the Wildcats beat the Bulldogs 6-3. It's on to St. Paul in the Final Four. The first time ever Northern Michigan has moved past the first round in the WCHA playoffs. A well-deserved standing ovation from the fans. We'll be back to wrap it all up after we take this time out for sponsor identification.
WCHA first round playoff action on Channel 8 is brought to you by Avant Gardens Floral, your FTD florist for flowers and plants. 1621 Presque Isle, Marquette. EQ Muffler Shop, serving Marquette County in a family-owned related business for 52 years. 250 East Hampton. Ask about our delivery service at Mr. Donut, open 24 hours, 1301 South Front Street, Marquette. For cozy fireside dining, try the Portside Inn, voted NMU's best pizza, 239 West Washington Street, Marquette.
Attention, let's have your appetite at Van Gogh's Pizza and Lounge, North 3rd, Marquette.
You're watching WCHA Hockey Playoffs on MCTV, Channel 8, a service of Bresnan Communications.
Catering for the production crew tonight provided by Van Gogh's Pizza and Lounge, 927 North 3rd Street in Marquette. Great weekend for the Hockey Wildcats, Tom. First time they've ever been past the first round of the WCHA playoffs. Well-deserved. They just had a great season. This crowd let them know it at the end of the game, and it was just a Wildcat weekend. Hopefully they can continue it in St. Paul.
Well, Northern Michigan, Ron, didn't want to go to Game 3, as we talked about earlier in the evening, and you know, Duluth, give them credit. They battled back all night long. They were down 2-0. They were down 2-1, 3-1, 3-2. They came back. And Northern Michigan, in the end, I think just wanted a little bit more and got the big goal early in the 3rd period from Antos on a nice setup, and then got the empty netter in the end.
Of course, I might add that nobody on the Channel 8 crew wanted to go to Game 3 either. Scoring started in the first period. The Wildcats, like they did in Game 1, time out in front quickly. Goals by Kevin Scott and Phil Berger at 3:07 and 4:19, giving them the lead. Jago made it a 2-1 hockey game for Duluth at 16:09. Then the second period, Phil Berger from John Good at 2:06, but Howard got one back late in the second period. At that time, it was a hockey game again, 18:45. Then in the third period, Dean Antos started things off quickly in the third just like the Wildcats did last night. They got a couple of goals last night in the first minute and 5 seconds. Tonight, Antos at the 23-second mark. We'll see coming up here. And really, Plandowski makes this play as we just see the tail end of that as Antos was there for the rebound. Plandowski, though, worked the puck down low with somebody hanging all over his back and got the puck on net, and the rebound picked up by Antos. He flipped it in, his 24th of the year. Then Roloff got one back for Minnesota-Duluth. His first of the season. Big goal for Duluth, as we'll see here. Just a slap shot from out near the blue line that beats Billy Pye, and that made it a 4-3 hockey game at that point. That coming at 7:04.
Pye had no chance on that goal by Roloff, and just made the very delayed late reaction on the play, and it ended up in the goal. And once again, you know, we talked about Duluth battling back, and that's exactly what they did. And here's that on the replay, and right there, well, is that the Roloff goal?
That's the Roloff,
that's the Roloff goal.
That made it a 4-3 hockey game. Then that was at 7:04. 13-10, big goal by Troy Jacobson. His ninth of the season. Berger and Warenka set him up and really gave the Wildcats the margin they needed to hold off Duluth, as we'll see Jacobson's goal coming up right here. Great pass to Berger. He was just about parallel with the goal line, and he just whipped a pass out front. Troy did a good job to get his stick on it and just tip it past Erickson.
Well, it had to be a pinpoint pass, and Jacobson was right in the right place and got the stick on it out front. And, you know, a very important, a big goal is once again it gave Northern Michigan back the 2-goal lead, and there it is right there. And Jacobson hasn't put the puck in the net that often this season. He's had his ups and downs, and that was a big goal for him, and I know it's one he'll remember for a long, long time.
No doubt about that. Then finished it off with the empty netter. This one will be fun to show as Daryl Plandowski got it unassisted with just 25 seconds to go in the hockey game, as he just worked the puck loose in his own end and outraced everybody to the other end of the ice and didn't have much problem scoring this one, his 7th of the year, and that sent the Cats finally on to St. Paul for the Final Four.
Hefty slash there from Diego, but Plandowski maintained control and had the open net.
Bulldogs outshot the Cats in the third period 11-8, but it didn't matter in the overall scheme of the hockey game as Northern Michigan wins it by the count of 6-3, winning game 1, 7-2. It's on to the Final Four for the Wildcats. Again, Tom, it's been great working with you this year, and with the Channel 8 crew, too, whom I work for, by the way, but it's been fun. I feel like the crew's done a great job this year. Hope you had fun. And we might be back for the NCAAs, of course. That depends on how the pairings go, but you never know. If so, we might have it there. If not, we'll see you next season with Wildcat Hockey here on Channel 8. Again, the final score tonight, Northern Michigan 6, Minnesota-Duluth 3. The Wildcats sweep the series 2-0. So long until next time.